Good afternoon and welcome to the Youth Plug on your Career Indaba channels. You can pick us up on LinkedIn, X, and YouTube using the hashtag the Youth Plug at Career Indaba. My name is Jackie Ford. I'm the CEO of APSO and a board member of Career Indaba, and I'm so pleased to welcome you all this afternoon. Love to introduce you to my co-host, Skumbuzo Dlamini. Take it away, Sku.
Thank you very much, Jackie, and welcome everybody. It's been an honor. It's a pleasure to actually be part of this exciting endeavor, great initiative, Career Indaba. Thank you so much, Jackie, and I look forward to an exciting and thrilling session.
Thank you, Sku. So we're going to have a very relaxed chat environment. We've got some wonderful guests to share with you this afternoon between 12 and 3. And a reminder for you that are joining for the first time that Career Indaba is an employment network that is dedicated to driving employability, skills development and entrepreneurship, and transforming our labor market. We want to be an inclusive organization. It focuses across Africa, not just South Africa, or that's where the idea was born. And we welcome all of our colleagues and work seekers outside of South Africa as well to this network. We're very excited this afternoon with our lineup, and I think our first guest is almost standing by in the studio for us, and I'd love to introduce them to you, and then I'll hand over to my colleague. So do we have Zakele yet with us? I think there was a connectivity issue, so maybe still coming, but I'll perhaps start with the intro instead. So on our youth plug this afternoon, the guests are going to be talking to us about opportunities that they can access, looking at some of the challenges that we face, work seekers face in South Africa and across the continent, and how do you maximize on the opportunities that are presented. We know that there's some devastating unemployment statistics which we can't ignore and was part of one of the reasons that Career Indaba was born, but our guests are going to provide insights for us this afternoon. So very, very happy to welcome Zakele Mgobozi, our APSO president, and also the group founder and MD of Modern Centric Holdings. Zakele, it's wonderful to have you on with us this afternoon and for you to be able to share some of your learnings with us. So if I can talk a little bit about you, Zakele, diverse range of talents and a deep sense of purpose. We can attest to the diverse range of talents, 100%. A significant impact on both the business world and underserved communities. So as the president of APSO, he plays a crucial role in upholding the strong code of ethics and professionalism within the African recruitment staffing industry. In terms of Modern Centric Holdings, created a social entrepreneurial journey in the drive, and I love this, Zakele, and I know you're going to talk to it a little bit later, leave no one behind agenda. So I'm really excited for you to be sharing that with us later on. So representing your organization presents a combination of successful Black-owned enterprises, and I think we were counting some of those fantastic awards that you've received to date, aiming to empower underserved communities, never forgetting what your founding statement is, and promoting the inclusion within the South African decent work and economic growth framework. So your areas of expertise, Zakele, skills development and diversity, equity, inclusion and belonging, and we're going to spend some time on that as well in our discussion. Recruitment consulting, management consulting, and obviously the youth development is a significant aspect for you in terms of your daily work and expertise. Persons with disabilities, LGBTQIA plus community, always worry about that. I leave one of those behind in terms of the acronym. And then obviously vulnerable women and children. And I know you do a significant amount of work with the vulnerable women, especially when we're talking about the Zakele pads as well. So I know there's some fantastic initiatives that your organization runs. Today, you're going to be sharing with us some of your insights and including initiatives that you've run in terms of internships, learnerships, and your other projects. Your expertise in terms of how do we empower work seekers to successfully access these initiatives and pathways to the world of work. So Zakele, welcome so much and thank you for giving of your time to chat with us today. I'm going to hand over to Skumbuzo to kick us off and then to get us started.
Thank you so much,
Fantastic.
Jackie.
Thank you so much, Jackie. That is actually a mouthful introduction, and I can definitely attest to the powerhouse Zakele is. And it is such an honor indeed to have you, Mr. President. Now,
Thank
having run many successful initiatives, including these internships, learnerships, and other projects, Zakele, he will definitely share his knowledge and expertise to empower our work seekers to successfully access initiatives and pathways to a world of work. Mr. Mkopozi, please, if you would share with us a little bit about yourself, I think just to kick us off and just give us a holistic overview in terms of who you are and where you come from.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you so much, Kumbuz, and thank you, Jackie, and welcome. And thank I'm really, really appreciative of the opportunity to come and have a Jane and have a 1 hour dialogue with everybody. So I would like to greet, the Career Indaba viewers and also the host. Guys, just to introduce myself, my name is Zakele Mgobozi. I'm the founder and group managing director of Modern Centric Holdings, a multi-award winning transformation firm that believes in unothering the other. And whenever I say unothering the other, everybody asks, what does it mean? What does unothering the other? And we all know that, when we speak in the spirit of leaving nobody behind, we know that, within inclusion, there's still exclusion. And what is that exclusion? It's the other. So that is what you are unothering, making sure that you are leaving nobody behind and everybody is actually included in the agenda that we are driving, the agenda, the 2030 agenda on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, making sure that nobody is left behind. So this is basically what I do. And I'm also the EPSO president. I've been the president for the past 3 years. And EPSO is actually an organization that is actually advocating and lobby for the professionalization of the recruitment and employment industry in South Africa. EPSO belongs to the World Employees, is a proud member of the World Employment Confederation, which does the same thing but on a global stage. So basically, this is who we are and this is who I am, and I'm looking forward to the dialogues, Kumbuzo. Looking forward.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Zakele. You mentioned earlier, leave no one behind. That is quite a very, very bold and I think interesting statement. Do you want to just talk us through that just a little bit, please?
Okay, cool. So when we speak of leave no one behind, before Modern Centric actually adopted the leave no one behind agenda, this is something that is so personal and so deep for me. We look at inclusion and we are driving diversity, we are driving inclusion, we are driving belonging. But as I said earlier, that when we look at inclusion strategies and we look at inclusion broad, within corporate South Africa, there's still exclusion that is taking place, especially when it comes to persons with disability in terms of accommodation. We are recruiting so many people, within the marginalized communities, but we are still leaving other people behind. So when we say we are leaving nobody behind, we are saying it in a sense of leave no one behind when we are recruiting, when we are giving opportunities, when we are giving job opportunities, when we are giving entrepreneurship opportunities, when we are giving sustainable opportunities. Give it to everybody and leave no one behind. It's all about serving humanity. It's all about making sure that, everybody is not left behind. That's what it is.
Love it, love it, love it. So among your accolades and obviously being a business owner yourself, let's just try and shift the mindset to employment in particular. We are all aware that we have a crippling unemployment rate and opportunities are difficult to come by. What sort of advice can you share with graduates or work seekers when accessing an
Mm,
opportunity? What is the employer looking for? What
mm.
will or how will you increase the chances of success when applying for employment?
Skumbuzo, when we look at employment, you look at back many years ago, things are different now. Things are different. Our employers are looking for more than just a CV. Employers are looking for more than just a qualification. It's the employers are looking for behavior. What is your attitude towards work? What is your attitude towards the role that you're applying for? What is your attitude towards the company that you're applying for? And what is your attitude towards yourself? Because remember one thing, that as a candidate or as a person, a job seeker, you're a brand on your own. And how do you present your brand to the potential employer? So those are the things that we are looking for. We're not just looking at the CV. Sometimes you'll get the CV, but you feel like there's something to the CV, there's something to this person, and I want to have an opportunity to meet this person so that I can get to understand them, who they
Right.
are and where they are coming from.
Right.
And you put the CV behind, and you just want to get to know the individual. And once you do that, you then see that, okay, cool, this is actually the right person for this employer. This is the right person for that employer. That person might not be right for this employer, because for sure your clients that you are recruiting for, for sure even your environment that you are recruiting for, and you are doing a matchmaking to see exactly, is this the right person for my environment? Is this the right person for the client? Is this the right person for that employer? It's
That is
basically the
quite critical.
attitude that
Let
you
me
look.
just quickly jump in there,
Mm,
Zakele. You speaking. I think it's one of the most imperative or critical steps in which our communities are sort of not knowledgeable, or rather not aware of. If
yes.
you could just give us an indication in terms of what recruitment looked like, because I can actually vividly remember myself a couple of years ago, and proud to share that, I've been just over a decade, as my bio does indicate. I've been with UPSO now for over a decade, but taking it, a couple of years back, it's also been a challenge, just dealing with recruitment agencies. I lacked understanding in terms of what recruitment is all about, and what sort of role do you then play, in the field of work. I want to understand what are the processes that are actually applied, in recruitment, and how best can you actually help me, so sort of solicit employment as a graduate.
So, Skumbuzo, I like the question that you're actually bringing on board. So, when we speak of steps of employment, I think let's just take it back. Why are we recruiters? We are recruiters because of one thing. We are the person sitting in the middle between the job seeker and the client. We are driving this professional process, doing this matchmaking, between the job seeker and also the client itself. So what we do as an industry, what we also do over and above that, because we understand our clients that we are recruiting for. The best thing that you also do sometimes, when you are realizing that the person still needs a bit of skills, in terms of the job that they're applying for. What I love about us as as recruiters is also just being able to take through, the candidate exactly on job readiness,
Yeah.
how to basically prepare a CV. And that is the that is the recruiter's job to do that, to see exactly, how can I help this individual, to actually present the CV in a way that, what, me as a recruiter, it's appealing to me, because if it appeals to me, it will definitely be appealing to the client. But over and above that, it's also just teaching, the job seeker exactly how to conduct yourself in an interview, how to
Educating.
present
Yes.
yourself in an interview, to coach you exactly that you're not, okay, cool, you are really, really good there, you are good there, but there's still something that you are lacking. I know my client, they might be asking this question and that question. So how about, we basically maybe refrain it like this, use it like this, and do that, so that at least you become somebody that is actually needed, or somebody that has a potential of getting the position. So in terms of the steps, of applying for a role, so you'll speak to your client, you'll get the job spec. The next thing you advertise on different social media platforms. We all know where to get the youth. The youth is mostly on Facebook, the youth is mostly on TikTok, the youth is mostly on Instagram as well. So you put the position, the ad out there, then you get the responses. And that's where now the first step of recruitment comes in now, in terms of your engagement, going through, sifting the CVs, looking at the job spec, also matching exactly what is the client looking for with what you have received. And once you've received, once you've done that, that selection process, and then you start doing your interviews, and that's where you see exactly, now this is the second step of seeing exactly that if the person is the right person for the role, or if not, and if the person is not right for that role, what other roles are out there that you can actually fit this person, this job
Absolutely.
seeker, yeah.
I'm going to jump in, can I ask you? Because
Yes, yes,
Yes,
please.
Kelly, you touched on a critical point, and I think that this is often a criticism we get for the staffing and recruitment industry.
Exactly.
Is effectively, we need to remember that the client is the one that pays the placement fee to the recruitment agency. So never
Yes.
ever, just a tip for our career seekers out there, never ever pay for a job ever. And I know we'll be delving into that.
Mind there, Jackie,
Yeah, we're going to be delving into that a little later with Natalie Singer. But what I want to ask you is, where does the role of the recruiter start and finish? So you have someone that's coming to you, and I'm mindful of our audience, that maybe you feel is not quite the right fit. And so you're saying we need to look for other opportunities and other roles for them. Is there a case to be made for some type of career management aspect for a lot of these young work seekers that come in? So when coming to a recruiter, we mindful you're not successful, you're not suitable for this position, but we know perhaps that you're missing this skill, or maybe you spoke a lot about behaviors when you started, that the behaviors aren't right. And so we share that information with the work seeker. What happens then to that work seeker? How do they make sure that they upskill or reskill themselves there? As I'm saying, is there a place for the recruiter to play in perhaps some guidance, some support with that? So I know you do things very differently at Modern Centric, and you run a lot of internships and learnerships. So what's your view on that? Because I think often we hear stories about work seekers that apply for hundreds of jobs and never have any success with them. But is there some way that they can be skilled, can have support in terms of, I don't know, even interviewing practice? Do we do some kind of role playing? Because that's not being covered in a school or university environment.
Exactly.
What's your thoughts there?
Thank you for that, Jackie. So, us as recruiters, and I always say, our jobs as recruiters is very, very critical, because before I answer you, Jackie, I just need to stress this, that our jobs as recruiters is very, very critical, purely for one reason. We are there creating sustainability, creating accessibility for someone to get an opportunity with a potential employer. So that on its own, it basically tells you a lot that our jobs, it's more than just a job. It's something, it's a calling. I say recruitment is a calling. It's something that's basically start within yourself. So
You gotta
when
have
you see
passion
that
for it. Yes.
you have to have passion, school, you have to. So when you see that the job seeker is actually not at the level where you want the person to be, especially for the role that you are recruiting for. So as a recruiter, it's within your responsibility to help the candidate, be able, to express themselves in an interview. I just want to mention one thing. I'm gonna go back, Jackie, because you also asked of case studies. So when I was back when I was back still employed before I started running my own business, my passion was to recruit for call center agents, and I was
Right.
recruiting in one of the in one of the regions, in the KZN area. And I realized one thing, that yes, the talent is there, the passion is there, but in terms of confident in interviews, though, I realized that we're doing a lot of bulk recruitment, a day. We'll see about 200 people a day. And out of the 200 people, you see that, okay, cool, only 60%, can go to the next level. But what do you do with the 40%? And we realized that the 40% that did not go to the second level was because of confidence. And what we had to do now is we had to run classes, run a week's class, to actually give an individual attention to the job seeker, you know, where you need to basically first understand you as a person. Who are you? Where you coming from? What are the circumstances where you're coming from? Because also those things play a major role, you know, in basically you succeeding for the next level job. So that's where you start now. You start unbreaking and unlocking the potential of this person. And in a week's time, you take this person for another interview process, and immediately that person goes to the second round. So it is within the recruiter's responsibility to make sure that no one is left behind. I want us to
And
get
it
to a
is
point,
exactly that,
Kumbuzo.
yes.
I want us to get to a point, Kumbuzo, where we get 100 CVs and we place 100 people. I know that it's a journey, but us as recruiters, it's our jobs to make sure that we get there. Other people have think of us as recruiters as people that do not respond once you've they call us names sometimes, you know, that they're just using you, and we are not using. We want to help you. We want to unlock the best in you. We want to help you to achieve, your destination. We want to help you to unlock the potential position that you want. So it's basically a partnership. That's what it is. It's a partnership. That's what it
Right.
is. And if job seekers can also understand that, I need to create a partnership with this recruiter, because this recruiter is going to take me somewhere. But also the recruiter needs to understand that I need to make sure that this person is an ideal candidate for my client, for client A and client B or client C. But how do I get this recruiter is also holding? So how do I get this job seeker to get to where they want to get to where they want to be? It's a partnership. It's all about the recruiters holding the job seeker's hand, and let's walk the journey.
Brilliant. So I wanted to actually also touch based on a very critical point that Jackie Ford indicated to earlier on. And again, this is aligned to what you obviously talking to now, Zakele, educating, just providing the necessary skills and knowledge to our graduates. We're talking youth plug here, ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, and we're talking our young people. And these are the people that are actually just, been through a journey of, obviously school and all of that. They new to the line of work, and with less sort of knowledgeability in terms of how to navigate around interviews. What are the critical skills? What is the most important thing that you need to know with regards to you partnering with recruitment agencies in particular? And Jackie mentioned, fees that are actually being charged to job seekers, and it happens a lot nowadays. And
Yes.
again, I know we'll be
Yes.
talking to it a little later on, but while we
Mm,
have the opportunity, I think it's also
sure.
safe to mention that we as an organization do work aligned with the Department of Employment and Labor, and there's a critical clause there that says if you are providing recruitment services for gaining purposes, under no circumstances will you charge any fees whatsoever to a job seeking candidate. So
Mm,
we need to at least go out there a little bit more. And I'm going to go back to your some of your initiatives, Zakele, as a man
mm,
that wears many hats. I know you do actually spend some time with the communities, the young ones, and actually try and educate them with regards to
mm,
recruitment. How often and what sort of means can we then just try and create as a recruitment fraternity at large
yes.
to try and actually go out more into the community and educate these young ones and just
Mm.
create, a value chain for them for the future.
School, I'm gonna be biased in answering this because I'm the EPSO president. You understand?
You
So,
can. I give
you
you the
You're
license.
allowed.
I'm gonna be very biased because I'm the EPSO president. But we all know that unemployment rate in the country is not pleasing,
True.
and we are seeing a lot of rogue agencies out there. Playing with job seekers. Asking for payments out there. For job seekers to get employment. But I always say that the industry is a professionalized industry,
Yeah.
and for recruitment companies to be recognized as professional recruitment companies, personally for me, there's a lot of federations out there, but I'm going to speak about EPSO, because
Yeah.
I represent EPSO. So EPSO is there to basically professionalize the industry. And for job seekers, I think the first thing that they need to ask for, which federation do you belong to? Which professional federation does the recruitment company belongs to? So once you know for sure that not that particular recruitment agency belongs to a federation like EPSO, like ourselves, there's professionalism. You know for sure that
Credibility.
no recruitment company will be asking you to be paying amounts upfront. We don't do that. And I need job seekers to understand that you do not have to pay for a role. You don't have to. You're already unemployed. You're already looking for opportunities. Where are you supposed to be getting the money to pay for this opportunity? What we do, and for me, I'll say this, once the recruitment company asks you for that, run away, walk away, don't even look back. Don't even look back, because the rule is that, a recruitment company has a commercial agreement with that specific client that they are recruiting for. What happens is that once the recruitment company has placed the successful candidate in that role, the recruitment company then sorts out those commercial arrangements or those commercial agreements with the client and not the job seeker. So it's
Fantastic.
things like that.
100%.
It's
Yeah.
things like that, and us as EPSO and also Modern Centric Holdings, and especially from a Modern Centric perspective, we deal with underserved communities. We go to rural areas, we go to townships, where we actually tell people exactly what are the opportunities that are out there. We also tell them that there's also opportunities that we are seeing online, but those are not real opportunities as well. So it's very, very, very important. It's very important, to do these teachings, to go to communities, to go to the job seekers. And I always say, I remember myself and Jackie, we had the pleasure of actually attending the 2024 World Employment Conference in Portugal, and they spoke about taking the jobs to the people, the jobs they want. And this
Very
is what we
powerful.
need to be
That's very
doing,
profound.
going to the
Yeah.
people, telling them about the opportunities that are out there. But also don't be shy to tell them about the fake opportunities, so that they are aware that there's a potential of being scammed, and there's also a potential of being human trafficked. These things are happening out there. But I'm sure I'm gonna leave that one to my colleague who's gonna be joining,
Yes.
later. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, so this is really getting to the crux of what's critically important for our career seekers and for them to be taking note of it. We're going to take a quick break now. And so we'll go to the tech team to give us a quick break. I know we've had a pop-up message there, so our producers can run that quickly, and then we'll pick up.
The youth are speaking. This is Youth Plug, where hustle meets opportunity. From side gigs to startups, from code to courage, we plug in the next generation to jobs, skills, and power. Youth Plug, Africa youth economy switched on. Future-proofing skills for economic growth. Career Indaba Expo and Bootcamp. 15th to 16th of May 2026 is Africa's boldest sector-aligned and solution-driven career development event, designed to bridge the skills gap, unlock real unemployment pathways, and future-proof talent across over 20 industries. From the boardrooms of Sandton to the villages of rural South Africa, we are pulling the entire country into one decisive moment to tackle unemployment, close the skills gap, and future-proof our workforce.
Perfect. Thank you for that, and welcome back, everyone. I see that we had some comments also, Zakeli. So I think you touched a bit of a nerve there as well in our chat, and one from our supporter from Gita Winter, who also runs a very successful recruitment organization and a board member, fully support the candidates asking about current membership, or at very least minimum compliance, such as a PEA certificate, which is a certificate to operate as a recruitment company that is issued by the Department of Employment and Labor. And I think as a minimum, those are the sorts of questions we should be asking. But it rings true, and a good thought there as well, Skumbuzo, the whole thing around, if the minute you are asked for money, that, Zakeli, in your words, is your sign to run away as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And
That
never
is
look back.
number one red flag, and never look back, because it'll continue from there. It'll first be one thing, oh, we need to get the vetting for the credit check, or we need, and then the next minute you're out of pocket, and and worse than that is the false hope that is created, the false hope of an opportunity that never materializes. So,
and again, Jackie, it's sorry to just interrupt you there. It also goes back to what Zakele, I think, said earlier on. As a recruiter, you best be in it for the passion rather than the money, because there's lives at stake here, and the sooner we realize that we best just take it as serious as possible. And I like that about your earlier statement, Zakele. And I also think that we know there are some initiatives that have been created by ABSO, as well as a form of educating. We do have a list of initiatives like your individual staffing designations. This actually speaks to young people that should be knowledgeable about these sort of things. But beyond that, we also educate recruitment agencies at large in terms of how to best approach job seekers, and not charging fees being a critical part of it. Sorry, Jackie, I just thought I should actually just mention that as
No, you're
knowing
very right.
so.
You're very right, cool. And I'm going to just reiterate this. It's actually your right as a job seeker to ask the recruitment company, what is your professional membership? It's your right. You're a job seeker. You've got right. We all got rights. It's your right to ask. And if the recruitment company does not come clean with you as a job seeker, also just leave and run away. That is my thing. It's high time that this industry is seeing exactly what it can produce and what it does for the people of South Africa and also the globe as a whole.
100%. I'm gonna take us back to some of the initiatives, Zakela, because we really want to hear more about them. Obviously, we've spoken a bit about the crippling unemployment rate. We've spoken about your special focus in terms of the DEIB, but I'm keen to hear about some of the initiatives that you've run. I know there was an aspect in terms of farming as well, and I bring that in because if we look at sectors where we should be focusing on, I want to take us to that. So maybe if you could share a little bit about those projects and when these opportunities arise, how does the work seeker, and I'm not using the word so much career, but work seeker, because it encompasses a much broader pool. How do they access opportunities like this, and where do they hear about them? So can I hand that over to you?
Thank you so much, Jackie. Looking at the initiatives that we do as Modern Centric Holdings, we are more into social impact, but using that vehicle to create, employment. And if we have to look at, the spirit of leaving nobody behind, we look at vulnerable women, we look at vulnerable youth. And when I'm saying vulnerable women, what do I mean? I'm talking about, your GBV survivors, people that, we had to actually help to remove from the perpetrator, get into a rehab, so that, you can prepare yourself into the world of the economy that you're about to enter. And then what we actually do, we've got the Zakele reusable sanitary towel. This is just the one project, and then I'm going to move over to the green circular economy. But what we also do for vulnerable women, we've got the Zakele reusable sanitary towel. This is the one and only reusable sanitary towel in South Africa that is SAPS approved, and it's manufactured by GBV survivors. People that we actually took out of the perpetrators. we got them into a rehab for a certain number of months, and then we get them to a factory where we give them the skills on manufacturing these reusable sanitary towels. But over and above that, we then give them the skill now how to sustain themselves. We give them entrepreneurship skills, new venture creation skills. So now you've manufactured this reusable sanitary towel. How do you actually distribute it? What is your distributing, your marketing distribution channels? Then we teach them exactly how to sell it. And it's been a success, because for the past 4 years, running this project, the women in the factory, they're success stories. We've got women that have bought their own houses. We've got women that are taking their kids to universities. We've got women that are taking their own kids to school. So that is actually beautiful. But over and above that, we are keeping the girl child in school. That's what we are doing, because we all know that the girl child misses about 60 days of school, misses about 90 days of schooling in a year because of period poverty. And how can we have the likes of, female board members? How can we have them, if we are saying that girl child misses about so many schooling in a year? So those are the things that we are doing. The main thing is to keep the girl child in school so that we can have future leaders representing us, driving the spirit of inclusion, inclusivity, spirit of belonging, spirit of diversity as well. But I just want to speak about the circular economy, which is green jobs. And whenever we speak of green jobs, the youth tend to shy away from these positions because it's still deemed as agriculture was done by my grandmother, by my grandfather. It was done by my great parents, and my mom was doing it. But I don't see myself, being, in agriculture. Can I just say this? There's
Yes.
actually a new world in the circular economy. There's a new world. There, I get excited, especially when I speak about this, because I'm like, we are living in a world of possibilities. There's 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 there's
Endless.
there's there's drone farming that is there. We are looking for drone pilots. There is solarpreneurs. We are looking for people that understand the just transition, the renewable energy. And we all know what we went through as a country when it was load shedding, the need for solar panels, for solar energy. And that industry created a serious number of jobs, and it's still growing. We all know windmills. We are looking for hydro, your hydro, your biohydro specialist. We need them. There's a need out there. I was actually looking at something because I tend to look at future trends. Where are
Yes.
we going to be in the next 10 years? And I love agriculture. Agriculture is something for us, and especially what we are doing, for persons with disability, because we are driving the spirit of leaving no one behind. And I actually saw somebody who is also from the community of persons with disability, running a farm from a comfort of his home, from a comfort of his wheelchair, and he was running a farm on his laptop, and this farm does distribution to your Walmart, your big stores in America. And I was actually saying to ourselves, we are living in a world of possibilities where everything that we do, especially in the agriculture space, you just bring in the digital side of it, you bring in
Yes.
the AI side of it. And you'd really, when I was listening to this interview of this gentleman, he said to me, I've only seen my farm once, but
Amazing.
he's generating millions. And we also need to stop, this thing of us. We all know that jobs are scarce in South Africa, but how do you create entrepreneurship? How do you actually look at entrepreneurship as a vehicle for you as an individual to create jobs? I'm sitting here, I'm sitting here as an individual that actually joined entrepreneurship about 6 years ago. And today I'm proud to say that, what, my payroll, I'm actually paying about 156 people a month. So that is just
Amazing.
the entrepreneurship. That's entrepreneurship. And we also need to start looking at it as the youth. We've got different types of entrepreneurship. We've got agripreneurs in the agricultural space. We've got solarpreneurs in the solar industries. We've got
Please hold,
beautypreneurs in
hold
the
that
beauty
thought.
industries.
Hold that thought, Zakele. I just want to bring something else on the table. I mean, I think you've spoken mouthfully. It's evident that, there is a problem elsewhere. So, and I'm bringing something on the table here. There's an article that I actually read most recently about the 2 young girls that's actually been shot in Mamelodi. And there's, and I know how sensitive this issue is because it's most recent, but there's quite a number of elements to it because now we have divided views in terms of, what led to that particular incident and how best can we, assist our girls in particular to move forward. My question, therefore, Zakhele, is: are we doing enough? And we're grateful for platforms like your Career Indabas, that sort of brings these awarenesses. Question still stands: are we doing enough? What else do we still need to do in order to safeguard our youth and provide substantial resources to see them through?
Sure, that's such a big question. Scoot. He's giving us the big questions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Scoot. I'll be honest with you, we are not doing enough. We are not doing enough. I love the platforms like Career Indaba, that actually give us a view of what's happening, in the careers landscape. I like what they do, where they bring in, different people, from different backgrounds, to speak about the career industry is vast. And to have a platform like this to speak about such things, I do believe that, the founder of Career Indaba has already started a movement. And there's a lot of us as corporate, as boardroom people, as executives. And I need to just say this, when you say, are we doing enough? Can I just say this to you, School? I think it's high time, since we're in a segment of actually taking board members out of the boardroom and speak about these critical issues. I think, I also need to mention this. It's high time we bring back the heart in the boardroom. If we can do that, trust me, we'll be able to do enough. We'll be able to do enough. So to answer you, I don't think that we are doing enough. I think such platforms as Career Indaba are needed, and I do commend the founder for creating such a beautiful platform. And I'm really, really praying that there's more board members that are really, really joining this movement. This is a big movement, and we all need to basically follow suit.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in and thanks for that question and response there. I want to bring us back because I can't believe that our time is running by so fast. But I want to bring us back to you were talking about the circular economy and the sectors that you think the youth should be focusing on. And just say to you, Zakhele, that we've got examples closer to home. You were talking about the drone agriculture sector. That Rwanda in Africa have got the most unbelievable program in terms of using the drone technology in the agricultural sector.
Exactly.
They've developed a whole new generation of farmers, and I use that word lightly because these individuals, many of them have never stepped foot on the farm or in the soil. They're using the geoscience that is operated in terms of the drone technology that tells you when to water, how much to water, what to do, and all of it is being run, as you say, through that drone technology. So we've got fantastic shining examples in Africa without even going out of our continent.
Right.
And their huge drive is, how do we make farming a career of choice, given that we're talking about using a hoe and a spade, not that there's anything wrong with using a hoe and a spade, but there's really now new ways of farming. So when you were talking about the solar energy, the green economy, the circular economy, if you were advising our career seekers and youth of today in terms of some of those sectors, what would your advice be? How do they access these kinds of opportunities? I know that many of the tertiary institutions are not qualifications that are being achieved there aren't really going to help in the new world of work, and we are going to focus on that a little later. But what would your advice be in terms of some of the job sectors and being able to access some of these opportunities and initiatives?
Right.
Thank you for that, Jackie. I'm going to do this. You see, this is the power.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, we are living in a world where you can get Wi-Fi. You can just stand next to a public community hall and you'll get Wi-Fi. You can stand next to a school and you can get Wi-Fi. The problem with the youth, and I'm gonna say this, the youth and job seekers, we have access. You know, we've got access to the internet, but we tend not to be Googling the right things. And I have to say this, we tend to spend time on the wrong things instead of doing the right things. We've got your platforms like, you know, Jobbox. You've got your platforms like Cisco Talent Bridge. You've got platforms like, you know, your PNet. You've got platforms. There's various platforms. There's a lot of platforms out there that have these opportunities. And I want to tell the youth that, you know, to go on Google and just right there, what platforms in South Africa are responsible for opportunities, employment opportunities? It will give you a list. And once you start doing that, trust me, I want to make it as simple as possible. You know, I want to make it as simple as possible. Go to Google, ask Google. You know, it's beautiful that we are living in a world where you can speak to a robot and robots can give you answers. That's the world we are living in. Information is right there at our disposal. But what we do is that, you know, we have access and then we don't Google the right things, which is why the state of unemployment is still there. It's not that there's no opportunity. Opportunities are out there, especially in the green economy space. Companies are looking for solar technicians. Companies are looking for I need to say this, DG irrigation specialist, digital irrigation specialist. I just want to say this, especially on our site, there's an opportunity right now. We are looking for a digital irrigation specialist, somebody that's going to sit at home and be able to run our farm in Kempton Park, be able to water the plants at a certain time, be able to switch off the water at a certain time, and be able to switch it on in the evening at a certain time. So you can do that. You don't have to be at the farm, but you can do that from your phone. It's your job, or you can do it from your laptop, or you can do it from your iPad or tablet. But the jobs are there. Jobs are there. Opportunities are there. You just need to look for them. Look for the opportunities. You'll find them.
Love it, love it. So with just 10 minutes, or rather, yeah, just above 10 minutes remaining, to all our viewers, the title of our topic today is The Youth Plug. Please do join us on LinkedIn, all your social media platforms, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. Hashtag The Youth Plug at Career Indaba. Hashtag The Youth Plug at Career Indaba. And maybe just for our final topic, and this I'm going to also pose to my co-host as well. That includes you, Mr. President, of course. Would you consider recruitment as a career path? And how best can young ones actually approach this?
Can I go first and then
Go
I'll allow
first,
the
yes.
host, you know, to recruitment is one position that I'll advise anyone who's looking for a job to build something. You're not just joining an industry to be a recruiter, but you are joining a movement where you are creating opportunities not for yourself, but for the other individual. How beautiful it is, Kumbuzo, to go to bed at night and know that today I actually placed somebody at this client.
Mm.
How beautiful
You've
is that? So
contributed to somebody's
you
well-being.
contributed to someone's well-being. It's not just a job. It's something that is so deep. It's something that you know for sure that you have done something right, not for that person only, but for other mouths in that family or in that households as well.
Yeah.
So recruitment, for me, I'll say we need more recruiters. We need more professional recruiters in the industry. That's what we need. And
Yeah.
there's organizations like EPSO, you know, that offer such trainings, which are accredited as well. So please, you know, if really you're asking yourself what position, you know, what industry you want to join, also look at recruitment. It has done something for me. Look at what I'm doing today. Starting as a young boy, you know, doing recruitment until today, I've really impacted over 500 people
Nice.
so far, and I'm still
Nice.
going.
Kudos to
Yeah.
you.
I think that's fantastic, and we have successfully run 3 different cohorts of graduates without any previous working experience, just having an NQF5 that have an interest in developing career paths and recruitment that were placed with our recruitment agencies as their host employers, and it was a year-long internship. And we've had a very successful uptake where many of these graduates who are on these candidacy programs were offered positions, permanent positions within their host company. So, as you say, yes,
Yes.
there's been it's been a very successful program. They were widely advertised. I'm hoping that with successful funding, so we received funding for that next year we'll be running another opportunity there as well. So certainly, I think you spoke earlier on about the motivation behind it, and really we have AI all the time. There's AI in every single role is affected in some way, shape, or form by digitalization and AI, and the recruitment industry and sector is not immune. We have very similar, but I think the key critical thing, Zakeli and Skumbuzo, is making sure that the human stays at the center of that process. So no AI can replicate that.
I post earlier on LinkedIn and I loved it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it has to be that aspect to it. Is empathy is not something that AI can replicate, and many will say just yet.
Yeah.
But I firmly believe that the role of the recruiter is one that is very definitely here to stay. And it's because those opportunities that you talk about, Zakele, when you see something in that work seeker, in that candidate, in that graduate, sometimes those are not things that come across on paper in a CV. It's something that you pick up in your interview or your conversation with them. So those that are out there that are looking, I want to come back to that behavior part and how important that is, Zakele, because that's something that you started off with talking about. So as we round out this hour, those sorts of behaviors, how do we go about ensuring that comes across, maybe even in an interview situation? Are there certain things that work seekers can do if we look at critical skills of the future? What are we mentioning there? And I know Natalie will touch on that a little later. But how do you go about ensuring or developing those sorts of abilities and skills? So, as I said, it's not always about the paper. It's about how you put yourself across. So do you have any words of wisdom or support that you can talk about around that?
Thank you, Jackie. Remember earlier I said, we've got access, we've got phones, we've got smartphones. And for me personally, if you go on YouTube, there's a lot of information about, preparing yourself for an interview, and especially what behaviors are we looking for. But one thing that I've also noticed with recruiters, they mostly use the behavioral-based interview styles. And I've noticed that, when we use the behavioral-based interview style, most people tend to be out of the system because, we all know sometimes, you get an interview and you lie and then it shows off. But this is where a job seeker now need to go on YouTube, look at exactly what are the articles out there, what are the videos out there. I love technology. I'll be honest with you. I'm from the olden days, but technology is really, 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 really changing the game. For me as a leader, but at the same time, I just want to encourage, our job seekers to also use the internet as their friend. Do research. Take your phone and just research. Just say, okay, cool, I'm giving myself an hour. I just want to do research on a particular topic. I want to do a research on a particular skill. I want to do research on a particular role. And the internet is there to give you everything you want. Information is at your disposal. So these are the things that I'll encourage the job seekers to do.
Excellent. Scoot, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think
I know you do a lot of coaching and mentoring with youth as well. So
look, mine. I think closing statement would be purely based on passion. Doing it for the love of it. We do have, a struggling youth in South Africa. And of course, you do know we have a couple of initiatives that includes internship programs, of course, other than the BMPs and your MDPs that we have been doing for these young ones. And we do come across a lot of challenges, despondent being one of them. You find young people that have sort of given up in life. They don't want to be part of this anymore. They've done their searches, as Akele. They've been on the internet. They've spent, ample amount of time doing all their searches, and absolutely nothing is actually working for them. And for me, really, is to say, if you are in it for the love, you never give up on them. So we should not give up on our young ones. Let's continue doing what we do best. And again, kudos to Career Indaba. We should definitely continue to educate and spreading the love and spreading the knowledge, to the best of our ability. And I think we are on the right path so far.
Yeah, I think that we're going to be coming up to a bit of a break, but I wanted to see if Zekele, if you would be able to hang with us for a few minutes after the break, just so that we can go to the wrap up, if that would be okay.
No problem.
So I'm looking at our support team at the back end.
The mic is live. The youth are speaking. This is Youth Plug, where hustle meets opportunity. From side gigs to startups, from code to courage, we plug in the next generation to jobs, skills, and power. Youth Plug, Africa youth economy switched on. Hello Africa! Want to stay plugged into the world of work? Follow us at Career Indaba on LinkedIn, Instagram, and X, and dive deeper at careerindaba.org.
I love
Excellent.
Youth Plug.
Youth Plug.
Thank you, Zakila. Thank you so much.
I think it would be wrong of me if I don't say this. I think it would be so wrong of me if I don't present this opportunity, because these platforms, they are created, for job seekers as well. Right now, I've got an urgent requirement where I'm looking for a videographer, a photographer / videographer, but I'm looking for someone with drone pilot experience, because the work that we do, we work in rural areas, we work in the townships, and we want somebody that will also understand that the job we are doing is not just a job, but it's also humanity. Somebody will be able to go to because we believe in storytelling. So modern centric, we believe in storytelling. Even in our reports, in our reporting, we do it in a form of storytelling. So I'm looking for somebody who's so visual, somebody who understands that, this road is not just about themselves, but it's about basically doing storytelling so that we can get more opportunities. An opportunity, I'm looking for this person to start 1st of December. If there is somebody out there, please, they can also contact Modern Centric. The producers do have our details. And I also got another opportunity when I'm looking for 350 electronic specialist that is basically within the mining town. So I've got an opportunity with one of the mines. So if really there's opportunities, go to Modern Centric site, those opportunities you'll see they're out there. This is why we have a platform like this, to actually bring out such opportunities, and I'm really thankful to you guys for the invite, and also to share the opportunities that we have.
That's so amazing, and it's such a good note for us to end on. So do you want to give us the website address where we can have people can go to access these opportunities at?
Most definitely. You can go to our digital platforms first, Modern Centric. So it's at Modern Centric. You can get us on Instagram. You'll see the adverts. Or you can go online, www.moderncentric.co.za. And you can also check us on our Facebook, check for Modern Centric Holdings. You'll find opportunities there.
That's fantastic. And to end on such a high, because essentially that's what it's about. It's not just the talk shop. It's about actually the action, and this is part of it. So thank you for bringing those and airing that in our segment today. We will come back. I don't know if I took our break a little earlier than I should have, so I'm looking at the producers. But just our grateful thanks, Zakele, for being with us today, for sharing insights with us, and for bringing very real examples and guidance for our youth that are in that tough situation at the moment, trying to access the labor market. So we appreciate that, and thank you so much for the work that you do. There's that hashtag, love your work, which I'm adding in here, and obviously for sharing that on our Career Indaba platform. So thanks very much to you.
Thank you. And hashtag leave no one behind.
Hashtag leave no one behind.
Thank you so much, Zakele. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
I think that
conversation becomes a movement. The idea becomes an economy.
That actually sums up our session.
It's an activation of Africa's potential. The Career Indaba Expo and Bootcamp 2026, where 5,000 delegates, 100 exhibitors, and 20 bootcamp zones collide to create the future of work. From youth innovators to corporate pioneers, from township traders to global brands, every voice counts. 2 days, one goal. Aligning Africa's skills with its opportunities. Career Indaba Expo and Bootcamp 2026. 15th to 16th May, Sandton Convention Center, where skills meet, where Africa works. Hello Africa! Want to stay plugged into the world of work? Follow us at Career Indaba on LinkedIn, Instagram, and X, and dive deeper at careerindaba.org. The mic is live, the youth are speaking. This is Youth Plug, where hustle meets opportunity. From side gigs to startups, from code to courage. We plug in the next generation to jobs, skills, and power. Youth Plug, Africa Youth Economy switched on.
Excellent. Scoo, are you welcoming us back?
Indeed, I am. Thank you so much. It's been an incredible hour so far, and needless to say that we are on to our next segment. And if you may, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce Annalene Maria. She is from a company called Global Careers Africa. Now, Annalene is a seasoned managing executive in the talent acquisition industry, and her professional journey and personal passion have always centered on creating opportunities, supporting growth, and transforming lives. With over 20 years of experience across the recruitment and global business services sector, she has established herself as a strategic leader with a strong focus on impact sourcing and youth development. In her current role, Annalene recognizes the borderless talent is the new normal. Remote work has, of course, effectively decoupled talent from geography. Her mission is now to unlock Africa's talent potential and deliver sustainable solutions to the global skill labor shortage. Annalene, if you may please just share with us the work that you have done currently being undertaken by Global Career Africa and some of the exciting initiatives that are underway and how work seekers can access these opportunities. Welcome, first of all.
And I also want to welcome you, Annalene. And Scoo, I brought him in because I know in our short time that we met that I talk a lot, but that's also your game. So Scoo got to hold us back. So welcome, Annalene.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jackie, and thank you, Scoo, for allowing me on this platform. It's definitely amazing work that you guys are doing on your side. So, so look, I'm with a company called Global Careers Africa. And, I think what we've realized is while traditional outsourcing markets have become saturated, Africa is still the hub. It is the hub. We've got so much talent. We've got the youngest, fastest growing, and most ambitious workforce that you're ever going to find. And it's not just my perception, and I'm not being biased because I'm African. It is what the international markets are actually saying. So, at Global Careers, what we do is we match our African talent to the international market. And the reason I say our African talent and not just South African, because I'm based in South Africa, is because we've got branches or we've got presence in Kenya, in Botswana, in Ghana, Rwanda, Ethiopia, all over the African continent. And we've realized that there's just so much to offer. We've got so much to offer. And the international markets are willing to give our employees and our candidates and our youth the opportunity that we unfortunately can't provide at this point, right? So basically what we do is we run different training programs, and it's specific to the kind of areas that we see a need in. So we know that at the moment the technical world is taking over, so everything is happening within the tech space, and it's not just in Africa, it's obviously all over the world. So currently we see a lot of positions becoming available within the tech space. What we do is we will take a group of unemployed youth that are graduates and unfortunately can't find any opportunities here in Africa. And we put them into a training program. So as much as they have the piece of paper to say that they are qualified, what we've realized is, they've been knocking on doors for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And they haven't had an opportunity. So for somebody that has just completed school, they've just got their qualification, they've been turned down over and over and over again, their self-confidence has been struck down, right? So they're kind of questioning themselves. Can I actually do it? Is this for me? Why does nobody want to hire me? And our training programs, as much as it is centered around skills and giving you the knowledge that you need, it's very much centered around building up that confidence again, giving you the soft skills that you're going to need. We do incorporate the international markets into our training programs because I think that's important. There's small things that we don't really think about, and that we're not going to expect our youth to know. What are the slangs in Australia or in the USA that I shouldn't be saying? What is work culture on that side? What are the different geographies in these places? What should I say? What shouldn't I say? What does normal business hygiene look like? So again, I'm saying we take inexperienced people because they haven't been in the workforce before. So we will teach them what is workplace etiquette. Why should I be at work on time? I'll get to work when I get to work. It was public transport. I don't have control over it, but leave a little bit earlier to ensure that you're there on time. Don't just stay away because you got a little bit of a sniffle. It's all these kind of things that we try and impart into our youth to set them up for success with future jobs. So once they complete our training program, we then place them into paid jobs. And it's international paid jobs. So whilst they're in training, obviously dependent on what the budget allows in the commercial models, we will obviously pay a stipend to them because we have to understand this is unemployed youth, and they come from marginalized backgrounds and they don't have money lying around. And especially here in Johannesburg, it's a huge area, right? So to get from Soweto to Sandton, you're traveling sometimes 40 Ks. So a stipend to assist with transport, lunch and those kind of things. Once they complete our program, we then actively market them to our international clients. So we've got clients based in the USA, in the UK, and in Australia, and we will actively market a candidate's profile. So we create a whole profile. Whilst they're in training, we teach them how do you create a LinkedIn profile? How do you create a Canva deck? How do you do all these kind of things? Because in the business world, you're going to need to know how to do it. And we want to also equip you to be able to market yourself. So, in the event of something happening and you lose your job, how do I then go back into the market? What is Pnet? How do I get onto Pnet? What do I do with Pnet or any other job boards for that matter, right? So we then place them into a job. So we secure interviews with different clients dependent on what the role is and what the qualification requirements are. We send them through for interviews. We prep them. We tell them how does a virtual interview work? What can the client see? How do I need to sit in a virtual interview? Can I be slouched? Body language is important as well, right? So it's all these kind of skills that we impart to them. And our end goal is not just training someone. So it's all good and well. There's lots of training providers, and it's great to impart skills and to upskill and to train people. But our end goal is placing someone in the job, getting them part of the economic hub, right? So ultimately, we place them with an international client. What we also do is we obviously want to ensure that they are set up for success. So it's not a hybrid role where we get you the job, we give you a laptop, go home, sit there, figure it out for yourself and work. So you will be working at our premises that's based, like I said, we're all over the continent. So depending on what site it is, they'll be based at the premises. Each candidate is then allocated a career coach. And the career coach then, they are the kind of link between the candidate and the client. So what are the expectations from the client? What does the candidate need to do on this side to ensure that they are meeting expectations? How do we develop them and get them to the next level? So it's not just a job that they are placed in and they are left to fend for themselves. It's obviously getting you to the next level and career development and doing all of that we need to do.
Oh, beautiful. Annalyn, I know that my co-host does have a list of questions to ask you.
Okay.
I'm just quickly going to hand it over to you, Jax.
Yeah, and thank you for that overview, Annalyn. And I'm going to be asking if we can do a little deep dive into some of those aspects. You mentioned, and I'm going to link it to our previous guest, around some of the behaviors and attitudes, because that was one of the questions we asked. So we've been told it isn't just about what's on paper. So paper, we need to have that, but sometimes it's about the behaviors and the attitudes. So I'm really interested to hear a little more about the assessment, and if I know that this is the type of behavior that's required, or I don't have that particular soft skill, and I don't like calling them soft skills because they're critical skills as far as I'm concerned. How do I develop that? So, and so maybe can you share a little more around how that assessment process works, and what would be some of the coaching or training that would be offered in that space?
Absolutely. So every candidate that comes through goes through an assessment process with us, right? Because to your point, we need to test not only the technical skills, but the soft skills space as well. So we use soft skills assessments that is aligned to the Sophia framework. And the reason we use the Sophia framework is because it's internationally recognized. So if I have to go to a client that's based in the USA or a client in Australia and say to them, a candidate has scored a level 3 in Sophia, they know what I'm talking about. So it's an aligned framework that is across all borders. So that is what we would initially do. Based on what results we get back from that, we then do a skills gap analysis to understand, okay, so you have scored a little low in, let's say, assertiveness, right? So how do we get you to the next level? We've got a set training program, which is a 4-week program. However, we've got a bank of training modules that we use for the skills gap analysis, right? So if someone is lacking in assertiveness, we've got a module that covers that. And the trainer then knows, okay, this is what I need to concentrate on to get Annalene out of her shell, to get her more assertive, to get her more confident, for her to be able to say no, for her to be able to push back, those kind of things. So it's going to be based on the assessment results. There's definitely a soft skills assessment that we need to do, that we do with every candidate. And I think that's important because what I have found is we have so many clients that hire for attitude. I promise you, skills can be taught, and that is what they stick by. So
Yeah.
they would rather hire for attitude, someone that's got the right attitude, that's got the right personality,
Very
and just the right
true.
etiquette, and they will then train them. So clients are willing to take on the time to train on the technical skill as long as someone's got the right attitude and the right kind of soft skills. And that's why we test on soft skills. And soft skills forms, I would say, 60% of the training course content that we would run, because I think that's very important. It definitely is.
That's actually such critical information. And when we were talking about earlier with Zakele around how do you measure and how do you develop that? If you don't have that, how do you go about acquiring it? So
Yeah.
this is so incredibly useful. You then also spoke a bit about the coaching part. So
Yes.
having that career coach. And this is where I see huge gaps in our market, even in our recruitment and staffing agency sector, because the career management or the career guidance is something that's missing in the equation. So is it something, I know if we look at the World Employment Confederation, career management is one of the services that is covered from that perspective. But there are not many, I don't believe, recruitment companies, specifically in South Africa. I can't really speak from the rest of the continent, just from my exposure to the WC, that have the career management or the career coaching part as part of their service offering. So
100%.
I'm really interested in that, because I believe that if you look, for example, at America, you would have a recruitment agent or staffing agency professional that would manage your career. You'd be placed sometimes 2, 3, 4 times by the same recruiter.
Yeah.
Because they have career pathing, they would have planning for you in terms of your lifespan and types of jobs we do, but we don't really have that. So I'm keen to hear a little more about this. It's almost like a career coach for life concept.
Yeah. Absolutely. Life coach.
In
Yes.
fact, I must say you read my mind there, Jackie, because I meant to ask, a similar question to say, being exposed to a, global overview, what are the
Yeah.
biggest challenges and opportunities she sees when connecting African talent to international employers? So yeah, you pretty much just read my mind there.
And I think Jackie and Scoo, that is definitely what sets Global Careers Africa apart. We're not a traditional recruitment agency, or a labor hiring company where we just hire someone, we place you with the client, and you just see to yourself and carry on. The career coaching aspect is so important in our process, because ultimately we don't. So, for instance, if we place a junior developer, we don't want the candidate to be a junior developer for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
There has to be a career path. And again, we've got career coaches that specialize in the different areas, right? So the different spheres or disciplines that we recruit in, there'll be a career coach for that, because I'm so technically challenged. I'm not going to understand the IT space, right? So we'll have a career coach within that IT space. What they would do is, and it's similar to how we do a skills gap analysis at the beginning when we do the assessment process. So when a candidate is placed, the career coach will then have a meeting with the client to understand, or the direct hiring manager, to understand, what do you require from this person? This is what they currently have. Where are the gaps? What do we need to improve on, right? Apart from that, that's the one conversation. The other conversation is, what is the next step for this person? So it's almost like you succession planning at the beginning to ensure you're setting them up for success, to ensure that it's going to be sustainable and they have a career path. It's not just a job, it has to be a career. So The career coach then develops a training plan. And again, I think, we've been doing it for quite a while. So we've got different learning parts, different career learning methods and development plans that we can tap into. But if there is something that we don't have, we have different partnerships with different companies. So CareerBox being one of our partners, where they are very big on development. So there's different training programs that they have. Udemy is also one of our partners. So there's different courses and training material that we will pull together to ensure that we then set this person up for success. What then happens is the career coach will put a performance development plan in place. So we obviously will have a set out plan that's mapped over the next 3 months or the next 6 months of where they need to be. So in 3-month intervals, you are able to see where the person was and where they are now. There's clear measurables. There has to be an output. There has to be, what are we getting out? We can't just say the person started at a level 2 and after 6 months, they're still a level 2, because then we haven't done anything to change it, right? So there has to be clear measurables, and the career coach assesses the person throughout, assists with the training of what needs to be done to get them to the next level. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. And I think it's effectively quite a remarkable journey.
Absolutely.
I love the fact that you use the Udemy. I encourage the Udemy all the time. I think, and I never know if I pronounce it correctly, but it's really an unbelievable platform with some incredible training that has on it. And when we talk about the age of micro learning, for example, Annalene, you can really get most things on there, and at sometimes often very negligible cost. And I think a critically important part, particularly if we're looking at work seekers, maybe they've studied something and we find that often here, particularly in South Africa, they've studied something and it's not the line or not availability for job. And how do we get the question? How do we transition from one career path to another? And always the first port of call is, well, now I studied a BCom accounting, but I actually want to move into ministry. Well, do you know if that's something that you really want to do, or is just something that you feel like you maybe want to do? So my first thing would be go onto Udemy, find a course in that and see if it's something that's going to retain your interest. I mean, we get told often in school, pick a career. What are you going to study? What are you going to say? How can you possibly know when you're 17 and 16 how I'm going to study something and I'm going to love that? And that's going to be my career path. We very often don't know. So that's also why I love this so much, because it takes that into account.
100%. And I'm living proof of that. I wanted to be an accountant my whole life. So started studying to be an accountant, but life changes and you change and you grow as a person, and your passions change and you want to do something that aligns to your passion. But Jackie, the good thing about our program is all clients are aware at the beginning. Whatever our costing is, it includes the development part of it. So if we need to pay for a course with Udemy, it's been factored in already. So it's something that comes with every candidate that you get, that they're going to progress. They're not just going to stay at the level. And even if it is not on a technical side, even if it is soft skills that they're going to be progressing on, and learn how to be a public speaker or whatever the case is, it's factored in already. So that cost is taken care of, and that's something that has to be done.
So that's not something that gets passed on to, for example, the employee, a direct cost.
No, not at all.
That's great.
Not at all.
I'm gonna ask us here just to take a hold, and we're so excited. We know that we're going to be looking at how can career seekers access these opportunities after the half hour. But I know the technical team are pushing me to take a quick break. So let's do that now.
Wonderful.
Sure.
Future-proofing skills for economic growth. Career Indaba Expo and Bootcamp. 15th to 16th of May 2026 is Africa's boldest sector-aligned and solution-driven career development event. designed to bridge the skills gap, unlock real unemployment pathways, and future-proof talent across over 20 industries. From the boardrooms of Sandton to the villages of rural South Africa, we are pulling the entire country into one decisive moment to tackle unemployment, close the skills gap, and future-proof our workforce.
That's great. Thanks so much for that. And I'm going to hand over to Scoot to pick up on the conversation with Annalene. Scoot.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jack. So I wanted to know from you, Annalie, seeing that, we were talking about leadership and the leadership strategies. What's your philosophy on mentorship and developing emerging leaders within your organization?
To many of our leaders in the organization. And I think that the approach that I would normally take is, if I have to say that the one thing that's a challenge, it's time.
Yeah.
Time when you are in a high demanding position becomes very difficult. And one thing I've learned is to have structure. So on both sides, on the mentee side and the mentor side, so what I would do with my mentees is set out the next 6 months. It's in our diary. We've set out our plan. It's in the diary. If something comes up in 3 months down the line and we can't make it, it's fine. However, having an open door policy for both personal and your professional side is very important, because I think that what we need to understand is, as much as we're in a business world, we human and people have lives, and your personal circumstances definitely affect your professional side and the business side of life.
Right.
So with all my mentees, there was always the two sides of mentorship. I will mentor you on a business side, but I need to mentor you on a personal level as well, because I think everybody needs personal growth at some point in their lives, right? You're not going to stay stagnant, and you need some kind of support, kind of like when we have Alcoholics Anonymous in AA, and they've got that one person that they run to for support. If something happens, you need to be that person. So that is the approach that I will take, School, is to have a personal mentorship program and a business mentorship program, and to have set goals in place and set timelines of when we're going to actually reach those goals. I think that is very important, because it's easy to just set goals and say, in 6 months' time, I want to jump up a level in the grade that I currently am. But how do you get there? What is the roadmap to get you there? And how are we tracking it? And are you sticking to it? And because life takes over, let's be honest, life takes over. Your day-to-day just runs into play. So that hour that you set aside to actually go online and do an advanced Excel course to learn how to do the different formulas and VLOOKUPs and all of that, unfortunately, I didn't have an hour to do it. But teaching mentees the importance of self-development is very important. So, that is definitely setting aside structured time and having a clear roadmap, and mentoring on both a business and personal level would definitely be my approach.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So if we now looking at our current, situation with regards to the youth unemployment, Annalie, where do you see Africa's workplace positioning itself in the next 5 years in the global talent landscape? And is it realistic?
That's, I think that global talent markets are becoming the new norm. It is becoming the new norm. I think that a lot of companies have realized that we've got a bank of talent here in Africa, and they are starting to make use of our talent. And this is just from feedback that I've received from a lot of international clients. They are blown away, absolutely blown away by the candidates that I would present to them. And all I have to do is present 3 candidates, and they don't know who to choose. And by the end of that month, all 3 candidates are placed, because as soon as another position becomes available, they want the next one and they want the next one. So again, I'm going to say we don't realize what we actually have. We're sitting on a gold mine of talent here in Africa.
Right.
And it is really so sad that our own companies sometimes don't see it. Or maybe we take it for granted because we are surrounded by so much,
Mm.
right? But I see the landscape definitely changing towards the international market. And, I know that technology is taking over and AI is taking over and all of this, but the personal touch is something that you're never going to give the technology. So you can automate as much as you want and as much as you can,
Yeah.
but there's always going to be a need for the human factor in that.
We spoke to
And
that earlier. That is very true. Yeah. Yeah.
no, but it is so true.
Mm.
It is so true. And I think that, you know, one of the key challenges that companies actually face when hiring internationally is just navigating the complexity of global employment. And they're worried about what are the employment laws, what are the tax regulations,
Right.
how does that affect us,
Mm.
what is the cultural dynamic going to be like. And that's where often companies see it as barriers to accessing our talent.
Mm.
That is what it becomes, right? They don't want to access our talent because they're worried about the tax implications. What are the South African laws? How do we do it? And that's where we come in and we provide that kind of counseling and that kind of interface to say, that's our problem.
Mm.
You just provide the job. We taking care of all of that for you. So, our kids are employed by us. We take care of taxes. They're governed by South African labor law. They'll get South African public holidays off. So we take care of all of that. But the landscape is definitely changing, and I see a lot more international investment coming into our country from a labor hire perspective. Definitely.
That's really
You,
interesting.
you mentioned culture earlier on, and that is quite
Yes.
interesting for me because I can tell you this much:
Yeah.
change is an enemy to most of us. Do you see our youth actually succumbing to the way of work and how it's rapidly changing? The gig economy being one of them. Is there hope for our youth? Anytime soon? Or,
Absolutely.
is this realistic?
Yeah. You know what? I think that we've got youth that are so hungry, and they all they need is the opportunity.
Mm.
That is all they need. And I think that by real world exposure to them, and having clients that actually want them on board, making them feel like they are needed and that they are wanted and that they are doing something to make a difference,
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. So culturally, you know what? And I'll tell you this because I've been dealing with the international market for many years now, right? We are the most agile you're going to ever find. We're the most adaptable you're going to ever find. Our kids can adapt. I promise you, if you have to speak to one of my kids now, you don't know if you're talking to an American or a South
Right.
African. And that's how
Interesting.
fast they adapt. Even their accents and
Mm,
the way they
mm,
speak and the
mm,
words that they use,
mm.
our youth is the most adaptable and most agile individuals you're going to find. So
Yeah.
for them to culturally adapt, perfectly fine. But when they knock off at 9 in the morning or 10 in the morning and they've done their shift with the Australians or with the Americans,
Mm.
100% South African. When they walk out these doors, they back to speaking vernac, eating, our fed cooks for breakfast and doing all of that, 100% South African. And I
Incredible. Mm.
I think they just learn that, you know what, job opportunities, let's be honest, our unemployment rate is high. Job
Yep.
opportunities are few.
Mm.
And it's become a case where they've learned that I've got to adapt because this is a really good opportunity that's
Yeah.
presented itself and I've
Yeah.
got to make it work.
Yeah.
And what I teach every single one of them is you are paving the way for those behind you.
Very
And
true.
the reason I say that is if we can prove to the international clients and the international market that we are that good, they're just going to give us more business. And the next
Yeah.
unemployed person is going to get into a job, and the next one's going to do it. So always pay it forward. Live your
Yeah.
life paying it forward, and you will be blessed beyond measure.
That's amazing. And then I'm jumping in, Skumbuzo, because I've got some practical questions for Annaline here that I want to pick up on. And the first one I want to talk around is you mentioned Career Box.
Yes.
I must tell you that I've successfully referred several people to
Yep.
Career Box, and not one of them has been disappointed.
Yep.
Every single one of them has had an opportunity that was presented to them,
Yep.
and has had an amazing experience as a candidate and work seeker. So I can't
There
speak
you go.
highly enough of Career Box. So
Yep.
what I want to
100%.
find out from you now is practically. So we've got the obviously the youth plug, the segment
Yep.
that we're talking to here. How do our career seekers, listeners, graduates that are looking for opportunities, how do they access Global Careers Africa, and where practically is the start of the journey for them? So perhaps if you could share some of that, so that we can have that solid takeaways for them on action and way forward.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to call out our website address. It is www.globalcareers.africa, and candidates are welcome to go on there. I'm going to also put or give
Global Careers in one word.
Yes, Global Careers, all one word, .africa. I'm going to also provide an email address, which is my email address, because I'm happy for applications and CVs to come. I get 100 CVs a day, and not one goes unread. So it is Annaline, ANNALENE, at Global Careers, all one word, .africa. So that's my direct email address. And candidates are welcome to email CVs through, email any queries through, and I will assist. What I do want to say, Jackie, is I'm currently recruiting for 2 internship programs that I'm going to be running, which is paid internships. And I am looking for junior recruiters. So people that want to be in the recruitment space, that have some kind of idea of how recruitment works and some kind of experience. And the reason I'm doing this is I have seen a lot of recruitment positions come my way from international companies. So I've been placing recruiters almost every week now. I want to start a talent pool, and I want to give the junior guys an opportunity. So, a part of the program that I'm going to be running is teaching them what are the international job boards that are used for recruitment. How different is it from our South African ones? How does recruitment internationally work? What is digital recruitment about? How do I work remotely with a client based on that side? So putting them into an internship program and ultimately placing them in a job, like I said, because that's the ultimate goal. So it's junior recruiters that I'm looking for. I'm looking for junior developers as well. So back end and front end developers. And I'm looking for data engineers as well. So very soon I'm going to start running the internship programs for those. So recruitment and assessments will be underway for those. So if there is anybody that is interested, please send me an email. These are going to be held in Johannesburg. So these programs specifically is going to be in Johannesburg. We're going to start early next year with our program in Kenya, in Nairobi as well. And I will, So Jackie, look, whatever we have available, it goes onto the website. So, anybody's able to go on there and apply.
That's fantastic news, and I'm really excited about the internship for recruiters, because we have we've recently run, I think we have 200 that have been through it now. Our candidacy program, which has been a 1-year program, and we've trained the fundamentals of recruitment. So I've got a whole pool of candidates for you, Annaline.
I need them. I need them.
Which we can forward. And obviously for those listening, you've heard Annaline now. So we want to direct you to the Global Careers website, www.globalcareers.africa. And you will find those opportunities recorded and listed there. So
Yes.
if I can come back, and I'm mindful of the time also, if we're looking at this journey, so the application comes to you, you identify individual, what's the next steps thereafter?
So we will then contact, so me and my team will contact candidates or applications that come through. We will do a screening with them, so a telephonic screening, because obviously communication is very important as well. You're dealing with international clients, so we need to have candidates that have good communication skills. So we'll do a telephonic screening. If suitable, they are booked in to come through to meet with us for an assessment day. So we complete all assessments, we do competency-based interviews, we do one-on-one interviews, etc. We brief everybody about the position, what it is going to be like, what does the a training program entail, etc. Once they're done with that, we then prepare decks, and I call it a deck because it's literally a Canva deck. So in your deck, it has everything, a little introductory video of yourself, a link to your CV. If you've got a LinkedIn profile, a link to that, etc. Just to keep everything on file. Candidates are then invited through for the training program or paperwork completed. They go through our training program. Whilst they're in training, like I said, we'll train you on how do you create your LinkedIn profile? How do you do all the different things? And we do a before and after. So remember, I said we'll do a video at the beginning. And
Yes.
it's amazing the transformation you will see 4 weeks later.
I'm going to
some-
say I've seen some of those,
Have you?
Annalene,
Yes.
and it's actually mind blowing. And some of the tech
Yeah.
companies, I can tell you that video was flighted
Yes.
by Ross at our conference earlier on this year.
Jonas, yes.
It wasn't a dry eye in the house. listening to it. Sorry, but
No,
I
and
have
I
to
promise
say.
you, and Jackie, that was just one of them. That was just, I am so fulfilled in life. I'm like, my heart smiles every day when you can change someone's life and give someone an
Absolutely.
opportunity, and just to see when they come in, especially in our look, our IT guys they're introverts, right? So you're not going to find an IT person that's as loud as me, but when they come in, they're so soft and they won't even make eye contact and they're looking down at, and again, it's their confidence that's been hit over and over and over again. So to see them after the 4 weeks and they'll be screaming from one end, "Hi Anna, how you doing? How's your day today?" It's something else. And you know what? That just makes your heart smile because you've done your job, your purpose is fulfilled, you've done what you needed to do. And our training progress does so much for these kids. It's very interactive. So they have to engage with the rest of the class. They have to come out of their shell. And we're very direct in how we do it and what we do with them. So yeah, it's something else.
So then I interrupted you. So then that process, they go through that, and then where do we go from there?
So they go through the training program. Whilst they are in training, as we get specs coming through, they will still be going for interviews. So before us actively marketing them to our client base, we will have specs coming through. So let's say we've got a client in America and they want 3 graphic designers, right? We will send our graphic designer pool through for interviews. And it's a good thing because they're getting exposure to international interviews as well, and the type of questions and the format of these interviews. So we will send them through for interviews. If they get placed, they get placed, all good and well. If they don't, they're back into our training class. No confidence hurt. We get back to them, back to where we were, and we continue. We then, in probably the last week of training, all decks are completed and we then actively market them to our client base. So once they are marketed to the client base, we have interviews flowing in all the time, and they get placed in a job. If they are not placed by the end of their 4-week training program, they are then put into further development. So again, based on their role, we'll do a skills gap analysis, and Udemy and Career Box training and all of this come into play because we then need to see okay, what more? Because we're getting feedback from all the interviews they've been going on, right? So where are you lacking, and what do we need to obviously train you on? What do we need to develop you on? How are we going to place you? To date, there's not one kid that hasn't been placed.
It's amazing.
So it's continuous training and continuous development for our guys.
That's fantastic to hear. So I want to move towards wrapping up. Annaline, you've shared so much amazing information in this last 45 minutes. I'm going to give Skumbuzo a last bite at the cherry. Have you got any burning question that you want Annaline to end off with, Skumbuzo?
I do have two critical one actually,
Yes.
Annalie. Looking at the current trends with regards to global recruitment, of course, and exploitation of our young ones. Therefore, what sort of measures do you have in place to protect them from being exploited? That's one. And the last one is, if you could shift one global perception about African talent, what would it be?
Oh boy, that's a difficult one.
I know,
Okay.
he's coming with them today. I've had to try and hold him back here. He's putting all of our
Okay.
guests on the spot.
Okay, so let's tackle the first question first, right? So your first question was around,
Exploitation of our young
right?
job
And I
seekers.
would assume you're talking about international clients exploiting our South Africans or Africans
That's
that's
correct.
working for
Yes,
them.
yes.
So we set the boundaries at the beginning, right? So everything is aligned to South African labor law firstly. So our staff are not going to work outside the hours that's prescribed. So your
Right.
40 hours or 45 hours a week, whichever the client depends on. So we set the boundaries according to labor law at the beginning. So before we even offer someone employment, the client is aware of what they're going to be getting. Apart from that, there's open communication continuously. So I've got relationships with all my kids that are working here, right? I've got WhatsApp groups with them. I'm on the ground with them. I go and see them every night or every early morning, whenever it is, to understand, are you still fine? Because I think health checks are very important, especially when there's a change in your working environment. Because I'm not working at 8 to 5 South African anymore. I'm now starting work at midnight and I'm finishing work at 9 a.m. So doing those regular checkings is very important, right?
Yeah.
But the career coach is definitely the person that's the buffer in between to ensure that our kids are not being exploited, that our kids are happy, that our kids are doing what they need to do. Sorry, and I keep calling them kids, that our youth that our youth are not being exploited by international companies. And
Yeah.
if we can see, which I must admit we haven't as yet, but if we can see that, okay, they're making them work 10 hours a day, then we're going to let you know, sorry, contractually, this is not allowed.
Yeah.
If a candidate wants to do it and you're going to pay extra for it, 100% we can do it, but it's not going to be allowed. So we are the buffer in between to ensure that everything is done on par and our youth is taken care of.
Yeah, that's
Love it.
amazing. That's
Love
so amazing. And then your second part of your question
I don't
was,
want to even think about his second question.
Well, I'm going to mention it either way. So, if you could shift one global perception
okay, we got to
about
keep it
African
short.
talent,
Yeah.
what would it be?
Yeah. You know what? I would think, and I'm so tempted to say that we have lions and elephants walking on the road of Africa, but it's definitely not that. You know what? I would think that it would be the fact that I think a lot of international people have the perception that South Africans have a chip on their shoulder. And not just South Africans. I think it's the whole African continent, continent in general, right?
Yeah.
And that they are going to get staff that have attitude. They are going to get staff that think they're entitled to everything. And
There's a perception, yeah.
it is a
Yeah.
perception. But if I have to be brutally honest, dealing with a lot of youth, our South African companies think the same. they do think the same. And I
Yeah.
think that there are elements of it, but it is, again, because of where we have come from and what we have experienced and what we've been through and how many times we've been knocked down. So I think that the perception is that if I have to hire someone from Africa, I'm going to have to deal with a lot of issues. I'm going to
Yeah.
have to deal with, a lot of
Potential
personal
charity
issues,
cases.
all those kind of things, which we've definitely changed the perception. And, I think that a lot of companies think, and in some cases it's true, right? Because I've genuinely seen it, that employment it is more than a paycheck. It's a pathway out of poverty for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
However, they think that when they employ someone, that everybody in Africa just lives in poverty, and when I take them, I'm going to have to deal with a lot of emotional issues. More time has to be spent, just doing psychological work with them and having these one-on-ones, etc. But what they have come to realize, on the contrary, is that our guys are resilient. They're going to push on. They're going to soldier on. They're going to outdo your onshore staff 100%. And we've
Yeah.
proven
That's
it.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's so amazing to hear, Annaline. And thank you so much for being our guest today. And again, the opportunities that you've highlighted that you've got available right now, available on the Global Careers Africa website, www.globalcareers.africa, for our career seekers, work seekers to access. And we'll definitely be in touch and looking at collaboration with Global Careers Africa and how we can push that forward in terms of not only the South African context, but the African context, because I know that is where the focus lies. So you've shared some wonderful learnings with us today, and thank you so much for being our guest. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Annaline.
Thank you. Have a good one. We'll chat soon.
And I think we're going to just
bye.
Thanks, Annaline. We're going to cut to an advert break quickly. Thanks so much. Thanks, Annaline.
Thank you. Bye.
The mic is live. The youth are speaking. This is Youth Plug, where hustle meets opportunity. From side gigs to startups, from code to courage, we plug in the next generation to jobs, skills, and power. Youth Plug, Africa youth economy switched on. The conversation becomes a movement. The idea becomes an economy. This is not another event. It's an activation of Africa's potential. The Career Indaba Expo and Bootcamp 2026, where 5,000 delegates, 100 exhibitors, and 20 bootcamp zones collide to create the future of work. From youth innovators to corporate pioneers, from township traders to global brands, every voice counts. 2 days, one goal. Aligning Africa's skills with its opportunities. Career Indaba Expo and Bootcamp 2026, 15th to 16th May, Sandton Convention Center, where skills meet, where Africa works. If unemployment is a crisis, now what? We are moving from talk to action. Career Indaba Impact Week, the Boardroom Takeover. A 5-day live broadcast activation from 27 to 31 October 2025, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. Hosted by Career Indaba Board Members, leading Africa's biggest conversations on employment, skills, youth empowerment, and inclusive growth. Bring a pledge, a placement, or a partnership. Catch us live on careerindaba.org and all our social media platforms. Career Indaba, the voice of Africa's labor market.
Excellent. Thanks so much for those messages. And Natalie, what an absolute pleasure to welcome you this afternoon to our Career Indaba streaming channel. So it's wonderful to have you on. I'm going to hand over to Skumbuzo. He's ready for the introduction and we can take it away.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Thanks, Jax. I wanted to say quickly, I needed a break to just go and powder my nose, if you know what I mean. But
Too late for
thank
you
you.
to cry.
Yeah, thank you so much, and Natalie, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, Natalie Singer is Cape's, representing Capes. And Capes is a lobbying body that represents the staffing industry in South Africa. She has been involved in the recruitment industry for more than 20 years. She currently works with companies across the spectrum in SA, helping them to future fit their workplaces. A member of the bilateral task team with DEL, which is the Department of Employment and Labor, Natalie regularly shares advices with work seekers on how to get the most out of their job search and understands better with or what employees want. Natalie, welcome, and it's an absolute pleasure having you.
Nice to be with you. Thanks, Sku and Jackie. Look forward to sharing this afternoon.
Excellent. And we're going to be joined a little later during your session by our guest. Ruby will be joining us later on and obviously discussing some of the key trends with Yubu Bubuna from CEO of the Job Box. So we'll be welcoming him during our session, Natalie. So maybe if we want to just kick off, Natalie, and tell us a little bit about yourself and Capes. And I say that with obviously mindful, but we've got listeners that we need to share that info with.
Sure, no problem. So yes, I'm the PRO, a public relations officer for Capes. Capes is the Confederation of Associations in the Private Employment Sector, a big mouthful. But in essence, the umbrella lobbying body that represents the staffing industry, the employment services industry. So that encompasses recruitment companies, temporary employment service providers, and everything in between, interim management, those specializing in certain sectors, and those working across the spectrum. We have two kinds of members. We've got our association members, the likes of APSO, which of course Jackie and Sku will know very well, representing APSO themselves, the African Federation of African Staffing Organizations. And then we also have the CEA TSD, which is the temporary services division of the Construction Engineering Association. We have a HASA, which represents those in the healthcare and allied industries. And we have the ITA as well. And then we also have some corporate members, larger staffing companies who join in and help to support all of the efforts we make in creating a labor market that balances the protection, of course, of employees, job seekers, etc., but also creating an environment which is attractive to employers to employ more people. So how do we get that balance right? So that's really the kind of work that we do. And of course, looking globally to what's happening from a trends perspective, but always being very cognizant that South Africa has its own very unique environment. And so we need to be adaptive to those unique elements as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Natalie. Thanks. And you brought that into the to the discussion. So maybe we can just try and kick off with that a little. So I think when we chatted, we thought that bearing in mind our audience on the segment is looking at what employers want. And I know that there was recently some data that was shared by the World Economic Forum in terms of future of jobs, and you're intimately familiar with that content. And maybe that's a good place to kick off. So sharing some information around those aspects for our career seekers that are out there.
Great.
So I think it's changed fundamentally, hasn't it, quite a lot? So
it has. And certainly I think we've seen changes accelerating at a rapid speed. The advances of technology and AI, and all of us carrying essentially supercomputers in our pockets, in our phones, the ability to tap into huge amounts of information. And whilst that, of course, is hugely enabling, it can also be a little disabling. And I'm conscious we're talking to young people as well. And whilst absolutely we all need to be able to get to grips with AI and AI tools so that they can make us more productive, I think for those who are entering the job market as first timers, we're also going to be a little cautious, because if we use AI extensively and everything we're producing for our potential employers is coming from AI, there is a very real risk that the employer says, well, hang on, I can just type those prompts in myself and I can get the same content. So what are you bringing up of yourself to the equation? So if we have a look at some of what the WEF, so the World Economic Forum, they produce a report every 2 years called The Future of Jobs. The most recent one came out in April of 2025. And it's essentially brought a whole lot of research together, but fundamentally talking to organizations around the world. And South Africa does participate in this. We have thousands of, well, tens and tens of thousands of employers who participate, but thousands even from the South African environment who give inputs into what they're looking for. So what are they experiencing in the workplace? And then what are they looking for? What are the skills mismatches that they see? So part of that is we can see that in as little as 5 years, by 2030, 39% of all workers who are working today will have to fundamentally change the skills that they use. And that's either because what they're doing is being impacted by changes to technology. We see a lot of, routine work and things like, I remember as a young person, when you got career advice, it was go be an accountant, go be a lawyer. And I work with some very clever lawyers. But we know today that accounting is fairly repetitive work, and one of the ones that is most at risk from being taken over from AI. So some of those jobs that always perhaps our parents and our grandparents looked up to and said we should think about these as jobs of desirable jobs are not necessarily as desirable as they used to be. One of the things that we see, and it's interesting because, and again, if you're interested, if you just go and Google WEF, the Future of Jobs 2025 report, you'll see that you can access that information. And they've got some really nice infographics, which make that content, because it's a really giant report. I mean, for those that want to dive in, of course, feel free. But there are some nice infographics and the highlights, which you can go and look at. But what we see is the jobs that are increasingly more in demand are ones which perhaps, we kind of look at, and I think particularly South Africans, we kind of look at and go, I don't want to work with my hands, it's not cool to be a tradesperson, or it's not cool to be a truck driver, it's not cool to be a nurse, but actually those are the jobs that are increasing in demand. And I think the golden rule you can apply is that any job that requires your physical presence is not going to be easily taken over by a computer. So whether that's a nail technician, whether it's the person who does your hair, whether it's the person who takes care of young children, elderly people, hospitality, all of those sorts of jobs which require somebody to be physically present is really, I guess, I don't want to say a safe job, but certainly more safe than those that can be done remotely or can consist of a lot of repetitive stuff, which AI can do. So I think that, when we're thinking about what jobs, and let's maybe not even talk about jobs, let's talk about work, because a job and this notion of a job is also changing. South Africa is quite unique in that we still talk about permanent employment. We're one of very few countries in the world that talks about permanent recruitment or permanent jobs, because at the end of the day, how permanent is permanent? It's only as permanent as I want it to be as the person in the job, because I can leave at any time I wish. And of course, for the company, it's only as permanent as they require my services or my skills. So in the rest of the world, we talk about open-ended contracts versus something like a fixed term contract, which has by its nature defined time, or perhaps temporary. We see a lot of people doing more than one job at a time. And, whether you call it the side hustle, as we do in South Africa, or whether it's a whole series of side hustles in the sense that I'm a gig worker, I work pretty independently, but I'm doing a bit of this and a bit of that. It's becoming more and more normal. So I think that for young people, yes, the security of a job and the attraction of that security is desirable. And of course, we want that experience. But we should maybe be a little more open to thinking about where there are opportunities to earn and opportunities to learn. So I heard your previous guest talking about learnerships, internships, etc. And they might not be the highest paying jobs to start with, but they're a great foot in the door, and they're a great opportunity to, of course, be exposed to workplaces and to create networks. Because it's often not what you know, it's who you know, and having the opportunity to get in touch and build that network becomes really, really important. If I can just talk to the 5 skills. So they obviously have a list of 20 skills, but if I focus on the top 5, what's really important in these is that it's not even about technology. So technology and digital literacy comes in at like number 6. The top 5 is analytical thinking. So the reason we do maths at school, I've got 2 young sons and they're busy in exam time. And they keep saying, "Oh, Mom, when are we ever going to use X plus Y equals 47? And I said, you probably won't use that unless you're going to be an engineer. But the reality is that it's not about the maths. It's about teaching you to think logically. It's about teaching you to analyze, to think critically. And so I think we're not all gifted in the maths department. Certainly it was not my best subject at school. But it's the ability for us to think about things, to analyze. We have so much information available to us today. So how do I take that information? How do I analyze which information is real? Because, of course, that's the other challenge we face. We live in a world where AI can create just about anything and make it look pretty convincing. Lots of fake news, all of that kind of stuff. So how do I critically think through what am I reading? What am I seeing? Is it true? Isn't it true? Is it a reliable source? We've got resilience, flexibility, and agility. And I think, again, your previous speaker hit the nail on the head. I think as South Africans, that's one thing that we're really good at is bouncing back. We get hit by all kinds of stuff, flooding, looting, corruption.
Power outage.
Yeah, you potholes. You think about it, that we deal in a basis with all kinds of stuff that others don't often need to think about, but we're resilient and we're great at making a joke and bouncing back. And that flexibility and agility is going to be critical, because we have to have this mantra of always be learning. So whether it's formal learning, and yes, it's nice to have a certificate, but this idea of micro learning, even online learning, I might not get a certificate, but it's knowledge. It's knowledge I'm gaining. It's a skill I'm gaining. It's something I can practice. And all of that continual learning is going to be the safeguard that you need, not only to find employment, but obviously to remain employable into the future. Number 3, yes.
I think if I may just pause you there, Natalie, and I know you've literally just covered mostly some of my questions as well, in terms of how can a candidate position themselves more effectively, not just to get a job, but to build sustainable long-term employability. But Nat, you also serve on the bilateral task team with the Department of Employment and Labor. What are some of the current focus areas or progress being made through this collaboration, taking into consideration the continued level of job scams to date?
So absolutely, and I think that's where the analytical thinking definitely comes in, Skuas. Unfortunately, we know that we live in a country with exceptionally high unemployment, and particularly youth unemployment. And the horrible part is that there are people out there who feel that that's an opportunity to make a quick buck by creating what are often very convincing adverts, sometimes even pretending to be other companies. It's quite easy to go online to someone's website today, pick off their logo, find look how they advertise their jobs, and create this impression that there is a job to be had, and then to invite people to apply. Now, there are a couple of things that we need to be cautious of. So the first and the most obvious one would be where somebody is asking you to pay to register for a job or to be considered for a job. It is illegal in South Africa for anyone to charge you any money as a work seeker. So how recruitment companies make their money is they offer their services to the client, so the employer, who to say, we will take care of the recruitment process, the screening process, the assessment process. And if we provide you with a candidate that you want to hire, they charge a fee to the client. So there should never, ever be a fee that is charged to a candidate. So I always say alarm bells should be ringing the minute anyone implies that there's some kind of money to be paid. Okay. Sometimes it's a little sneaky because they say it's not about registering for the job or paying for the job. You have to undergo mandatory training, or you have to do a credit check or a criminal check, and you need to pay for that. Now, those are things that should be paid for by the agency, not by you. It's part of their service. Okay. Obviously, you are within your rights if you want to, and some individuals might choose to say, if I want to market myself more effectively of my own decision, I might go online and do a social media report, and I pay for that I can add on to my CV to show that I'm a connected kind of person and I'm a good person. You might want to do a personality test or a psychometric test or something like that yourself to understand yourself better, and to add that to your CV as a way of helping a potential employer to see the value in you, especially if you don't have a lot of experience. But that's something that you're making a decision about yourself. It's not necessary. But as soon as someone says, in order for you to be considered, you have to pay us to redo your CV, it's compulsory. Or you have to pay us to do, you have to do a credit check and a skills check and a qualifications check. And by the way, we've got a deal with someone that's cheaper, so you only have to pay 300 Rand, pay us and we'll get it for you. Again, anytime that there's any money changing hands, I would very, very seriously be concerned, because it's unlikely that it's a legitimate job. So you're not only going to lose your money, but it's also not going to result in any kind of job.
So that's like a red flag, Nat. Run for the door, as Akili says.
Absolutely. And not just run for the door. What we'd like to ask you to do is please help others by sharing that information. So send the email that you've received that says this is what you must pay, or the screenshot, and you can send it to pr@capes.org.za. That's the address. And what we'll do is we'll share that with the Department of Labor, because again, we are both, them and us, so private employment industry, the compliant players, plus Department of Labor are working together to try and stop these kinds of scams. But we can only do it if we know about them. And unfortunately, in the digital world, it's very easy for people to set up and change names and disappear. So the more information we can get, the more we can pass that over to the department. The last thing, sorry, can I just say,
No, I just wanted to obviously let you finish first and then just hand it over to Jackie. Okay. But before I do that, there's also just one liner that I wanted to bring on the table as well. But please go ahead.
So the last thing I just wanted to caution about also in today's world is, unfortunately, the other thing that can happen is sometimes nefarious individuals create a pretend job in order to access your personal information. So we need to be cautious about that too. So, as much as it is absolutely normal, of course, to send your CV and to have references and your qualifications and your ID, I would be very cautious about just sending all of those documents to someone you don't know and have never engaged with. So on your CV, I wouldn't include my ID number. Put your birth date, okay? So they have an idea of how old you are. But don't put your whole ID number. It's not necessary to put your whole physical address where you live. You can just put the town where you live. So you can think about what is important information for them to have, but actual sending your certificate, sending your ID, because we've seen, unfortunately, some examples in the past where people, they weren't even real jobs. They were just trying to access documents that they could then use to fraudulently open, furniture accounts and things like that, because suddenly they've got a proof of address and they've got your ID, copy of your ID and things like that. So it's normal once you're engaging with an agency and you know who you're dealing with, that they might ask you for those things. But I wouldn't just send them out right off the bat to people you don't know. So just protect yourself from that perspective.
Indeed.
Thanks so much, Nat.
Okay.
Thanks, Nat. I'm going to hand over to the producers for a quick break, and then we're going to be bringing in our next guest online with you, Bubu Buna. I know you know relatively well, Natalie, to share this platform and to talk through some valuable insights for our listeners. So we can just take that quick break now.
Perfect.
The mic is live. The youth are speaking. This is Youth Plug, where hustle meets opportunity From side gigs to startups, from code to courage, we plug in the next generation to jobs, skills, and power. Youth Plug, Africa Youth Economy switched on. Future-proofing skills for economic growth. Career Indaba Expo and Bootcamp. 15th to 16th of May 2026 is Africa's boldest sector-aligned and solution-driven career development event designed to bridge the skills gap, unlock real unemployment pathways, and future-proof talent across over 20 industries. From the boardrooms of Sandton to the villages of rural South Africa, we are pulling the entire country into one decisive moment to tackle unemployment, close the skills gap, and future-proof our workforce.
I'm never quite sure if it's the end, because sometimes there's 2 and sometimes there's 3, but there's a gap.
Your timing is impeccable. I think we're on it.
I'm taking my moment. Boo-boo, welcome, and thank you so much for agreeing to be part of our discussion on the Youth Plug at Career Indaba today. We're honored to have you on with us. I really appreciate you being here.
No, it's an absolute pleasure.
I'm going to just share your profile with our listeners. So CEO of Jobbox. I'm always expecting it to be 2 B's, because I'm never quite sure if it's the emphasis is on the ox or the job part at the front. But I'll wait for you to correct us there. Have I got it on point? Oh, good. So effectively award-winning startup, which is committed to enhancing youth employability through innovative hiring solutions. And we love that here. We're keen to hear about it. And partnering closely with corporates, SMEs, and higher education institutes. So under your leadership, Jobbox has helped secure in excess of 20 million Rand in bursary funding and support for students, and enabled more than 500 people to launch their careers through paid work opportunities. It's amazing, Boo-boo. So being recognized by the UNDP for contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals, and also received numerous awards and accolades for your impact, Boo-boo. So we are honored to have you. Oh, one more thing I wanted to add, and this is very exciting, obviously with the G20 being imminent in the month of November, that you're serving on a member of the Foundation and Alliance's task force for Startup 20 under SA's G20 presidency, helping shape global policy to support startup growth and inclusion. So we're really excited to have you on and to hear about your inspirational journey and advice that you can share with our work seekers that are trying to get a hold or gain access to the world of work. And I think you know Natalie Singer on with you now. You've had some dealings with each other. So I'm very keen for you both to be sharing with our audience. So maybe just to kick off, Boo-boo, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization. Obviously mindful, I think anything that's being done now to try and drive our unemployment rate to single figures, and it's a massive challenge, but we've, the journey of it begins with one step, and this is one step towards that. So over to you, Boo-boo.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Just want to say afternoon to all the listeners. It is an absolute pleasure to be here, especially with Natalie on the line. I was listening before to some of the really incredible stuff that she was talking about, and just like she was just nailing it and on the point. And Skumbuzo, it's a pleasure to meet you, man. The host with the mostest. So yeah, just a little bit about Jobbox. And again, Jackie, thank you so much for that introduction. Sometimes when I hear about the work that we do, I'm always like, wow, that's us. That's the startup we do. And I always say that people see me as the face, but we have got an incredible team behind me that's allowing for all of that to happen. And interestingly, every single one of our employees that even now is at the stage where some of them are senior product managers, some of them are like head of a department, all of them started as interns in the company. It's something we're incredibly passionate about, is hiring young people, building them up and seeing how they can actually grow. And so it's just been a genuine joy seeing them rise to where they are. So a little bit about Jobbox. So we dub ourselves as an early talent discovery ecosystem. And what we do is we help companies to find, fund, and manage graduate talent all in one place. So the core of what we do begins with us partnering with a higher education institution. We decided to do that because we feel that in the space that we're in working with young people, it really is quite pivotal for you to work with higher education institutions because they're they're a very important piece of this cog. And so we work with them. So we work with the likes of University of Pretoria, WITS, but then we also work with other institutions like Mangosuthu University of Technology. And most recently, we've also started working with a couple of vocational colleges, which is pretty exciting. And I'll touch on that a bit. Natalie, I know you also mentioned a little bit about that. And then what we do with them is whenever we get an opportunity that comes through from one of the companies that we're working with, we actually say to the institutions, here's an opportunity for your graduates, here's an opportunity for your students. And they come and they apply for the jobs all on our platform. So everything we do is based on our platform that we've built. We are on a data-free service called Moya app, but then you can also access the website on any device that you use. We are not an app. We specifically chosen not to be an app because we know that, again, for young people who are job seekers trying to get a job, now you're telling me I have to have this phone that has this latest software, that has this data, this, that is that. So we're like, how do we make it as easily accessible for young people? So you come into the platform, you sign up, you do our skills assessments. And the skills assessments, as Natalie was talking about, sorry, Natalie, I'm just gonna like jump in with some of the stuff.
Perfect.
It's a couple of like 21st century skills, like the World Economic Forum loves calling them. So we've got like problem solving, communication, all those things. The reason why we do that is because we feel that those skills are easily transferable to almost any kind of job that you can do. And although we do work with the institutions, you'll find it so fascinating. Some people will be working in sales and they've studied BA, humanities. Some people will be software developers, literally, but they'd have studied like chemical engineering or something. But the key thing is like, what skills do they have? Is this person coachable? Is this person teachable? That's what really, really matters. And I'm sure we'll touch on AI and all these kinds of things. In this world where everything is moving so rapidly, it is really important and crucial for you as a young person to actually have the skills. And that's why we test for those. And then the platform also allows you to submit videos so the employer can get to know you. And our whole entire platform helps you through that process. But then we also believe that there needs to be a human element. And so we've got a team that helps you through the process. If you're having any trouble, there's a human being that's going to be there to assist you through along the process. Because again, as a first-time job seeker, which a lot of the people are, it can be daunting. And the reality is that, and we see this on our platform as well, you're going to have to be applying for hundreds of jobs. That is the reality of the situation right now. And sometimes it feels like you're applying to like a black box of absolutely nothing. But with us, we do give you feedback, especially if you make it to the interview stage. We implore all of the employers, hey, give feedback to this young person so they can understand why. And even if you're not going through our platform and you get a rejection email, which can be heartbreaking, I understand, always try and get that feedback. Even if they say on the mail, we don't respond, blah, 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 shoot your shot. You literally never know what's going to happen. Always try and get that feedback so you can kind of understand what, like why you didn't get the role. And so, yeah, with Jobbox, everything is housed through our platform. And the reason why we do that is because we are collecting really interesting information and data that we feed back to the institutions. And the idea of feeding this information back to the institutions so that they can get their other students better prepared. So because we know these are the skills that people are struggling with when they get to interviews, this is the common feedback. It allows the institutions to say, okay, what are the things that we need to work on to ensure that our young people are better prepared? We're trying to break that information feedback loop, which kind of breaks where it's like, okay, we're sending out all these job seekers into the working world, but we're not getting information back as to what are our people lacking? How can we better support our people?
Yeah.
And the more we work with these institutions, the more information we get, the better prepared they make their people. And it's been a fascinating journey. Um, some of the institutions have been incredibly receptive, some of them not as much. But we are slowly but surely getting to the stage where the work that we're doing is being recognized by quite a lot of like interesting players. And it's funny, like when we started, I remember we were trying to convince, in the same way that job seekers go through as an entrepreneur, I have to go out into the world and try and convince people that to use this product. And the sheer amount of rejections that we get. Like there's this quote that I remember, that rejection has seen me so many times it's tired of me. It's like it's you again. What are you doing here? But we gotta keep on going. So when we first started trying to convince institutions that this is what we do, they were like, I'm not too sure about this. But now we get into the stage where institutions are calling us and they're like, hey, can we join your network? And that's because of the work that we've been able to do, but also just because of the fact that students trust us. I know one of the things that you were saying earlier is about this unfortunate space where there's just a lot of bad actors in our space, and it always breaks my heart, right? Because I mean, you are trying to bad act against some of the most vulnerable people in this country. And so one of the things that we really, really do is that every job that's on our platform is verified. We know that it is a real job. No job appears on our platform without us having verified the job. Now, does this mean that our processes are a bit slower? Yes, it does mean that. But we'd rather have a slightly slower process that ensures that the job is real, the employer is reputable, and the young person that gets placed there has an actual proper place to work, because it's so important for a young person to have a good job. I know, like, we're talking to the job seekers on this forum, but I really do implore the job creators, the guys who are creating jobs, please don't just go and hire young people for the sake of hiring young people. And we see that a lot because of all the different schemes that are available in this country. I can get an intern with a stipend paid for, and then they just bring on a whole load of these people, and then they actually are putting them in jobs where they're not actually really doing anything. And then after the 12 months, the young person leaves with no proper work experience, and they find themselves back into the market doing another program and another program. So I really do implore the people who are creating the jobs and the opportunities, make sure that your job post means something to you. Do not just go willy-nilly, go hire people for the sake of hiring people so you can have an extra body. Unfortunately, they use those terms as if these people aren't human beings.
Sorry, let me just have a minute there while you're at it. I mean, we're talking young people, and of course, being young yourself. I wanted to talk to your real name is Busiso. What is the inspiration around Bubu? No, I'm joking. we love Bubu. Let's keep Bubu for now. All right, but in true essence, many young people feel discouraged by the job market nowadays. From your perspective, what practical steps can they take to stand out and access meaningful work opportunities?
That's a fantastic question. I will say something though before I touch on that. The unfortunate reality is, as I mentioned earlier, you are going to have to apply for multiple roles. It's going to take 100+ applications, and it can be disheartening. What I always say to people is just keep on applying, and when you feel like you cannot do this any longer, take a break. There's nothing wrong with taking a break. Taking a slight step away just so you can kind of shift the mindset away from, I've been applying to so many of these roles, I'm getting so many rejections, what can I do? It is important to take stock of your mental health, take a step away, but you've got to get back into the ring. As I mentioned, as an entrepreneur, I am sending out so many proposals. I'm talking to so many customers. we raise funding, and again, I still get the same clapback from so many investors. But with regards to practical things that you can do, I think there's about 3 things that you can do. The first one is ensure that you have an online presence. I think that the age of the internet, like I'm a little bit of an older statesman. I was, growing up with Facebook then. Facebook was the thing, but now LinkedIn is the thing, right? And what we do tend to find is that a lot of young people don't have full LinkedIn profiles. Now, we actually host workshops
can you
on branding
believe
and like, and this is what I always say to young people. If I Google your name, which recruiters do, if I Google your name, the first thing that pops up most likely is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And then when I click on your LinkedIn and I see absolutely nothing there, you're not telling me the full story about yourself.
Questionable.
Yes. Your CV is only going to tell me so much. So having your LinkedIn profile is there. And don't just have a LinkedIn profile for the sake of having a LinkedIn profile, which is something, again, we see. Make sure that you've got a profile picture. Make sure that you've actually got things within your bio. Make sure that you've actually got, like, this is in your LinkedIn thing, you can have a title. You can send the title, active job seeker looking for opportunities and XYZ. People have whole sentences there, and that's kind of the way that you're doing LinkedIn now. Make sure that you are engaging on LinkedIn. What I always say to people is, don't just go on LinkedIn and make random posts. Don't just post. In fact, as a young person, sometimes you don't have a lot to say, but comment. Constantly comment on people's posts, especially people within your industry that you want to go into, because more often than not, people see that, and you'll never know what might happen with you actually commenting on people's posts and having engagements and conversations with those people. So for me, number 1 is have an online presence. And the easiest way to have an online presence is to leverage LinkedIn. The second thing that you can do is try and create and make sure that you'll see, like, I know it sounds basic, and Natalie, you mentioned it before. And up until the time in 2025, 29th of October, CVs are still ridiculously important. We still haven't reached the phase yet. Like, I know some people are like, oh no, like CVs are so old and all this stuff. CVs are still there. And to the extent where now, and this is an interesting space that we're in, a lot of people are using AI to screen CVs. So you've got to make sure that your CV is built in a way that allows these AI tools to screen it in an efficient manner. And the key tip that I always tell young job seekers is, do not, like, sometimes we get CVs from students and they're like 17 pages long, and it's because they've got their their studies, but then they've also got certificates from when they were in primary school. It's like, if we need more of that stuff, we'll ask it from you. Keep your CV 1 page, 2 page max. Like, trust me, you don't have that many things to say, but make sure that your CV is like AI ready. And just as a sidebar, the most fascinating thing we're dealing with now is that we have job specs that are being created by AI, and then we have job seekers creating these CVs with AI, and then we have AI reading AI CVs. It's a very
chaotic.
fascinating. Yeah, like
I read a really interesting tip around that, and particularly for youngsters, because we've got to look for transferable skills, because you don't necessarily have a lot to put on there, let's be honest. So you haven't got work experience. So think about what you've done. And again, we're not going back to primary school, but things like if you participate in team sports, I mean, what does it tell? It says you're a team player, you're a collaborator, you're disciplined. If you volunteer, and again, whether it's at church, whether it's in the community, that speaks to something about dedication, time management. In your studies, have you done extra projects? Have the collaborative work? And one of the things was, and I think AI comes in there. So keywords are important, as you say. It's going to be looking for the right words. So sometimes we try and be clever, and you can be too clever for your own good. A chief happiness officer, and it doesn't know what to do with you, but actually just the HR person or the tea lady or something, and you try to make it sound cool. But the other thing is saying is, instead of just listing what you've done, think about what the impact was. So this was quite interesting, saying that if I participated in a volunteer program, so I can just write that. But if I could say I participated in a volunteer program, and in this year we managed to raise double the funds from the previous year because we utilized a social media campaign which I helped to generate. All of a sudden, you're helping someone actually connect the dots to see not just you were standing there on the side just selling lemonade, but actually that you were part of that process, use skills to get a result. Because at the end of the day, that's what companies are looking for. As Bubu said, have you got the skills that, and are you teachable, that can create an impact and create some kind of positive result at the end.
You nailed it. You nailed it,
important.
Natalie. Actually, I was going to bring you in, seeing that I know we're getting all excited here, but this is all interesting, and I can see Jackie's actually looking at the time, but I'll bring you in a little later on, Jackie.
How did you know I was looking at the time? Where did you see?
What sort of trends are you seeing in the future of work, especially regarding digital skills, remote employment and entrepreneurship that young Africans should be preparing for?
So I think we all need to be able to use AI. I think that, we've got to be able to be comfortable with it, but not overly reliant on it, because we've still got to be able to use our own skills, our own brains, show the value that we can create. Because if all I'm doing is generating AI content all the time, an employer might say, well, why do I need this body? Because I could get the AI to do it by itself. So what's the value add that you're putting on? However, what I would like to say is that, in terms of the skills, so we need to be comfortable with technology. We need to be able to utilize technology and to be able to adapt, constantly be learning. And you don't have to necessarily have gone to formal training. I mean, there's so much online learning that you can do. YouTube videos. I mean, you can teach yourself pretty much anything. It's, can I do it? Can I use Excel? And it's a constant improvement, because we must be comfortable with technology. Sorry, the last part really is around saying, how do we, just to clap onto the LinkedIn, one of the biggest gaps that young people have, and I know we often have this conversation within the broader employment equity context, because that's part of the consulting I do, is that particularly at entrant level, one of the biggest hurdles is the lack of a network, So as someone like me who's grown up in a home where my mom and dad both worked, my dad was a businessman, he had lots of network, So as much, my very first job, and by the way, it wasn't a paying job, I just wanted a place to work. I studied journalism, sports journalism, when I started my life. My dad knew someone who knew someone at Natal Mercury, and said, well, can my daughter just come and walk around here, and she just do the stuff for free? She just wants a chance. Now, without that, I wouldn't have got that first opportunity to get exposed to the environment. Now, what LinkedIn can do, to Bubu's point, is saying, if I'm online and I go and join industry groups, sector groups, and I listen into the conversations, I'm learning while I'm doing that. If I'm commenting, people start to see me and can see what I'm about. And although I might not know these people in real life, I'm starting to build a little network. And that's where somebody's sitting having a chat and saying, oh, we're looking for a youngster. I don't know. Oh, my grief. We're going to recruit. We're going to run an ad. We're going to get a gazillion applications. Oh, no. And then that person goes, no, you know what? There's this guy. He's always commenting on our company posts, and he's quite bright, I'll reach out to him and see if he's interested. And that's where suddenly those networks happen. So leveraging technology to help build networks that might not otherwise exist in your everyday life, because you're in an environment where perhaps nobody in your family or your immediate community has been in chemical engineering, for example. So how do you leverage those? So definitely, I think technology can help.
Like that. Fantastic.
That is fantastic. And Sku, I was going to run the advert break, but I'm going to delay that because the conversation is starting to be so riveting.
Very interesting.
I'm telling you. So just in terms of Bubu, you were talking about and it sort of resonated, because obviously I come from a recruitment background, and having sometimes candidates in tears in front of you saying, I've 150 jobs or 170 jobs I've applied, and that is one of the harshest criticisms of our recruitment sector is the lack of feedback. And when I know Natalie, when she trains, and I also do potential recruiters, is around, we need to remember that even if we don't have news for the work seeker or the candidate, telling them that we don't have news is still news to them.
Absolutely.
So we need to, and that sort of really stuck with me early on. But you spoke about the rejection part, and when our previous guest was talking around resilience, and I think that's also where it comes in. So it is that no, and you also alluded to the mental health, but the rejection part for me was paramount, because it does beat you down. It beats you down, and you start thinking, well, what next? Is it, you become disillusioned, and we're never going to find something. So any little nuggets that you can share, and you've spoken about the health break. My dad always used to say to me that, well, he said many things, but something that I picked up in a part of my career when I was looking for something was that looking for a job is a full-time job. You have to approach it as that is the work that you're going to be doing. It is a full-time job trying to find something. It's not something that you can dabble in once or twice a week, or I'm going to, and you know how the job boards work. You have a platform. So anything that you can share around for potential work seekers or wanting to access that you feel would make a difference. And I think Natalie spoke about that, commenting, and it is about what sticks. How do you differentiate?
Yeah, 100%. I will first say that I think it really is something that our country needs to find a way to alleviate some of it. And I know that we are all trying in different ways. We, as Dropbox, we work with the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention. And also there's something called Harambe, the Youth Tech Accelerator. They've got something called the National Pathway Management Network, which is basically a group of all of us who are having platforms in the youth unemployment space, all coming together to figure out like what we're going to do about this. And I really think that that is a great step, because sometimes it feels like we're all just so separate from each other, but we're all trying to solve the same thing. So how do we all band together to solve this thing? Because it's not right. Like, I don't have any other word to put it, that our young people in this country get to that point where they feel despondent to be able to go and get this. But unfortunately, it is a full-time job. And you kind of have to also have a system in place, whether you use, like, obviously, as I say some of these things, we specifically work with like guys who are in higher education. So I come with that lens in place, and I'm aware that not everyone has the resources to go to, like, because most institutions now have a library, and in that library, there's a computer center, and there's access to internet, and there's Wi-Fi on campus in general. So I'll caveat my kind of tips with that. So my biggest recommendation for people to kind of like make it less stressful as well is systemize it. Like, use the basic version of Excel, have all the jobs that you've applied for, and just like link them. Like, this is the job post that I've sent today. I sent out these, like, have a daily target. I'm going to apply for this many roles today, and this is the target that I've got to be hitting. And something that does become a little laborious, especially when you've got like a platform, because like you said, Jackie, we have a jobs board. Sometimes it is more difficult to tailor your CV to that application, but sometimes you got to do that. Again, I always talk about the things that we do as a startup. So I'm literally always applying for things. Like, the reason why we've got so many awards is because I applied to so many things. But what I do is I've got like because they always ask the same generic questions. So I've got like a whole document that I have in place. When I see an opportunity, I'm like, okay, cool, that's the opportunity. I know that I need to tailor some of my things. And truthfully, I'm using AI to leverage some of the stuff. I would love to chat about the usage of AI a little bit later if we've got time, but I use AI to like tailor some of that stuff. So number one, my tip is actually have a running log, create a system around how you're going to do this. Like, literally, the morning, how are you scheduling your morning? Is it the morning I'm working on writing my CV or optimizing my CV or doing a cover letter? Then I take a lunch break, and then I'm going to be like, literally treat it as a job so you can constantly do it. And I know that it sucks, and I know that it's disheartening, but it's just, you're gonna have to do it. And it's easy. Sometimes it's easy for me to sit down and talk about it like that, like, oh, just do it. But it's about doing it. And the second thing is, make sure that you're customizing your applications. Sometimes we get applicants that come through, and then we're like, wow, this is a great candidate. And then we have a cover letter thing. And then that cover letter is like, I'm applying to this telecom. And I'm like,
Yes. Well,
it's not a, like, literally, like, immediately we're like, nope. Because it doesn't seem as if this person's actually like caring about this application.
Right.
And unfortunately, like, sometimes you've got to stroke our egos as like recruiters, because we've got like, this is the role, this is the company, and all this kind of stuff. So it is tricky.
It's so basic. That is such a basic thing, and yet there's so many people that don't do that. That cover letter that you're talking about, and I know, it's generic. It's generic. It's they haven't. When we talk about how do we differentiate, and we think that these are basic tips, but they're not, because you see the volume, Nats. I mean, you've had experience with that as well.
Yes, I think to add on to that, I mean, spend the time to do a little research about the company, because if when you're tailoring your response, you know, that makes all the difference. Hey, when, let's be honest, at an entry-level role, of the hundreds of people that apply, they potentially all look very similar. Hey, so it can be a really small thing that differentiates you, that says, wait, hang on, this is somebody who looks like they've taken some care.
Putting an effort.
They've put in a bit of effort, not just banged off the generic CV that doesn't seem like they've just applied to everything. So I think there's two things. One is saying, do a little bit of research, do that cover note so that you can help them see why you'd be a good match, or how you think you could add value to their business, and how, you know, you've got those transferable skills. On the second side, I think the other thing I'd like to say, and again, you know, kind of wearing my Capes industry hat here, is that also be open to outcome, because yes, I might have studied chemical engineering, but there may not be that many chemical engineering jobs out there. So be open to the fact that maybe there's something else I could do, even if it's interim. Hey, register with agencies who do temporary work, even if it's temporary hospitality waitering, even if it's doing some temp assignments, you know, on a reception, because it's that funny old saying, hey, it's easier to find a job when you've got a job. Somehow it just seems to work like that, is when you're sitting without a job, it seems almost impossible. But when I've got a job, again, and I suppose it's a combination of things. One, I'm building some experience on my CV, even though it's not directly linked to my ideal job. It's showing a future employer that I've been reliable, I've gone to work every day. There's a reference that can say, yes, you know, Natalie is a great employee. She was keen to learn. She was willing to put in the extra, you know, to do what needed to be done. So be open to opportunities, and not just saying, well, I'm not going to apply for anything unless it's my perfect job, because that also is closing what is already quite a challenging environment. And that, I think, can help people to really, one, earn some bucks. I mean, let's be honest, we'll need some bucks so we can earn some bucks, but it also helps to build my CV and grow my network. Because again, once you're in, very often they go, geez, this is a hell of a nice person. And you know what? We've got a vacancy in a different department. And all of a sudden, opportunities start to open for you that may not have been there in the first place, because you're simply relying only on the job boards. And I guess that's my last thing, is to say to Boo Boo's point, is that we also as Capes are members of the network in trying to help connect those dots, the Presidential Employment Initiative. And it's like fishing. We've got to have lots of lines in the water. So I've got one line and one kind of bait only. I'm minimizing my chances. So go and register on the youth portal, the Yes for Youth portal. Go and register on the Harambee site. Put your CV in as many places as you can so that you can be found, because I think that's the other thing. So that's why LinkedIn is critical. These days, especially with youth, companies may be a little nervous to run an ad, because you're going to get inundated with gazillions of CVs. And so they're more likely to go there where I can pick and choose myself. So I'll go onto one of these portals where I can do a search. I can do by search by skill or search by qualification, and then I can be found. So, and then finally, I think tailoring the CV, or perhaps trying something different. So the same thing, my fishing analogy, maybe the way your CV's been written or laid out isn't working for you, and that's partially why you're getting the rejection. So maybe change it up a little bit. And again, I'm not suggesting add things that aren't true, but maybe rethink the format and utilize tools like AI to help you, and try a different version, because you might be surprised that generates a better response at the end of the day.
Oh, thanks so much, Nats. And I am rushing you. I can't believe that this time has flown by. Any last words?
Just that when we're having interesting conversations, doesn't it?
I know we didn't even get to the AI part. Boo Boo, anything you'd like to add as we wrap up?
Yeah, definitely. I just do want to say to young people out there, we are trying everything that we can do. There's some really good people that are really trying to find ways to help you get that first job, because that job is so critical. Because that, as Natalie mentioned, that kickstarts everything. But then I also implore you as young people who are job seekers, when you do get that first job and you are getting that stipend through that program, please treat that thing seriously. There are so many other young people that would love to be in the shoes that you're in. Please don't use it as a way to just collect a stipend and then go home and do nothing. So I really do implore all the young people that when you do get that opportunity, make the most of it. And you'll be really, truly, you'll be surprised as to what will happen to your career after that.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Boo Boo. So much for being online with us today in this live broadcast. Natalie, thank you so much for your insights and for sharing your knowledge and expertise to both of you. It was an absolute pleasure having you on. Scoot, anything you'd like to add?
Yes, actually, Jax, just in closing, please, Natalie, if you may, and I know you've touched base on this, just in a minute, please. There's a growing talk about skills over qualifications. What are your thoughts on this?
So yes, I think micro-credentialing and skills are essential, because qualifications move too slow. So of course there are certain fundamental qualifications linked to some jobs. I mean, you can't be a doctor without the qualification, can't be the engineer without the qualification. But we also know that the world is changing faster than qualifications can. So just keep building your skills, keep building the practical knowledge and skills, and you can do that online with free access to learning. So you don't have to be reliant on a formal learning place. Just build your skills and stay agile and keep learning forever. Thank you.
Lovely. And for Boo, finally, what's the next for Jobbox, and what legacy would you like or hope to leave through your work?
Fantastic question. So what's next for us is venturing harder into the vocational space. As I mentioned, to young people, you'd be really, really surprised as to what career you can have once you venture into that space. From a skills shortage perspective, whether it be a diesel mechanic, a plumber, a boilermaker, a welder, fitter and turner. I know these things don't sound as sexy as like a software developer or a lawyer or whatever, but there's a massive skill shortage for those roles. We've got clients who are like, I need these people, I cannot find them. And so we're trying to make that more accessible for young people who are trying to pursue these fields and trying to get a role somewhere. We're pretty excited about what that's going to allow for us to happen. And the future of what we're trying to do is, the future for us is how do we make employment attainable and accessible for students all over Africa? That is what we're trying to go towards.
Love it.
Excellent.
And that's all she wrote, folks. I think from my side, I'm super happy. This has been exciting, and I'm sure all our listeners are just as excited as we are. And of course, I'll just hand over to my co-host for her closing notes. Jackie, thank you. You've been an absolute incredible host, I must say. I love having you around. Yeah, tag team, even if I had to say so myself. But yeah,
that's so funny. Thank you so much. Thanks, Natalie, again, and Boo Boo, thank you so much as well. A very enlightening discussion. I felt like it could have gone on, and I was thinking, how am I going to get through the 3 hours? But we've had some really amazing speakers and guests join us today, sharing some fantastic opportunities. And as you say, Boo Boo, the collective is out there. There are many, many committed, interested groups, people, organizations that are trying to tackle this youth unemployment problem. So again, the resilience part, for those career seekers that are out there, don't give up. I know it's a hard thing. It might just be that next one that you apply for might be the one. So our grateful thanks to all of you, and we'll connect with you soon. So for those listening, obviously we want you to visit the Career Indaba website, careerindaba.org. This has been the Youth Plug segment. We will now be moving on to, I think it's SME in the afternoon, and then the Career Indaba business segment that'll come later this evening. And I think that's all for us for this week. So this has been a special live special broadcast of Impact Week, that's been brought to you by Career Indaba. So our grateful thanks to everyone for your participation, and to our technical team, handing back to you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Good afternoon.
The mic is live.
Cheers.
The youth are speaking. This is Youth Plug, where hustle meets opportunity. From side gigs to startups, from code to courage, we plug in the next generation to jobs, skills, and power. Youth Plug, Africa youth economy switched on.